Welcome to episode... As I start talking, he starts slurping on his drink. Can you focus? Control yourself. He's also I just said, I'm really sorry, I don't look that great. And he said, don't worry, Eddie, nobody watches you. Anyway, I don't think it's the right answer. You go, you look beautiful.
2 years ago, welcome. I would have said you were beautiful.
Yeah, he said there's a fine line now. Let's not even bother, Eddie. Welcome to the real life, episode 74. There's no intro this week. There's no magic intro. Gary is threatening to record one. So get yourself up on a hill nice, and we love a breathless one. It's Gary. Send us in your intro to hello@tntrails.com. And hello. Welcome to the UK's #1 trail running podcast. My name is Eddie Sutton, and I'm still waiting, though. I am waiting for summer to arrive in the Alps, Gary. It has rained and rained and rained and rained for about 2 weeks now. And it's so depressing because we live high. We're up a valley. It's the cloud. Like, we just don't see anything. We're just in the cloud. I drove a little bit further to go down the valley to get the petrol just to see a bit of... sky. That is how sad.
Do you quite often get... I saw a lovely cloud inversion the weekend. Do you quite often get an inversion?
In the winter. Winter, when you can ski and you can get super high, but not so much in the summer, no.
Well, my name is Gary.
Who are you?
My name is Gary Thwaites, and I am it's Tuesday now. 15, 20 years ago, I could have pulled this off, but yeah, I'm a little bit pooped. All will become clear later. And this week we are joined by Zoe Murphy. Zoe won the recent She Ultra and took on the mighty UTS 100k. Also, she has the most beautiful four-legged friend. Is he allowed in the furniture? We will see later. Also, we see what you've been up to over on Strava. Share a tale from the trails, and the coaches offer some help and wisdom to some chancer who thought she'd try her luck.
Thank you to our Patreon partners who share discount codes with our patrons. We have Precision Fuel and Hydration, Velo Forte, Protein Rebel, Tiki Boo, Mountain Fuel, Outdoor Active, Silver Sweden, Active Root, The Centurion Running Store, Sportshoes.com, Big Bobble Hats, X Miles, Fawnside Farm Cottages, Goku Projects, Hellfire Events, Red Bear Sports, The Album App, Retainer Group Cycle Protection, Summit Crazy, Beat It Sports, Lumi Activewear, Phoenix Lights UK, Bridgedale Socks, Nav4, and Ultra Trail 2. Extra shout out to Precision Fuel and Hydration, Velo Forte, Beat It Sports, and Protein Rebel. We use their products every month to help fuel, hydrate, and recover.
Not long now, Eddie. 5 days and counting. 6 days and counting, sorry, until I can slip my chubby little feet into my new Bridgedale socks. I'm quite excited, actually. I've ordered a diary.
Feet? Would you say that they...
I've got a little... When I was a kid, I really struggled with... You used to go into Clark's and the machine was like, and it would clamp your foot.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
I was a little fat foot guy, basically. That was my fate. Really struggled. But I'm super excited to go. I ordered a diary for 2024 and 2025 and some socks for my upcoming imminent birthday.
Haven't got my party invitation yet. Is that...
Oh, awkward.
Oh, no.
It's the party of the year.
You wouldn't want me to come to your party anyway. I'd arrive and you'd go, what do you want to drink, Eddie? And I'd go, cup of tea. Actually, I've got a bit of a headache. Have you got any electrolyte? Because I'll have one of those
It's 1500.
And then, really strong. And then cup of tea. And then I go, you not got anywhere we can sit down? Why is everybody standing up? My legs are really sore.
Time to go.
9:30, Gary, if not 9 o'clock. Knock it on. Let's knock this on the head.
Well, if you'd like to save some money, support the podcast and our partners, then please consider joining Patreon. We could not do this without you guys. Seriously. Also, pop over to Summit Crazy if you'd like to buy some awesome Tea and Trails merch, and patrons can now enjoy 25% off over at Summit Crazy. That's mighty generous of Summit Crazy to go as high as 25%. And drum roll, I've ordered the bubble hats, the Tea and Trails bubble hats.
Just in time for summer.
Perfect
timing for your warehouse ordering, Gary.
Takes 5 weeks.
Okay, it'll be winter by then.
Can't wait. Super excited.
Thank you to Precision Fuel and Hydration. And this week, Fenixlight for sponsoring the show. Super grateful for your support. Don't forget, pop over to Precision Fuel and Hydration Towers, book in with the sports scientist, read some case studies, or use their handy fueling planner. Lots of stuff over at precisionfuelandhydration.com.
And if you are a patron, you can get 15% off over at Precision Fuel and Hydration. And anyone can get 15% off their first order with the code T24. That's super simple, T24. Another interesting newsletter from the guys at Precision Fuel and Hydration. Interesting stuff there. They asked ChatGPT, is that right? Probably got that all wrong. The AI bit of software.
I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
How much carbohydrates that endurance athletes should take. And yeah, it didn't do a bad job. Not as good, obviously, as the guys over Precision Fuel and Hydration, but interesting read all the same. You've got loads of text this week, Eddie, which is really...
it's unlike me. I feel a bit anxious about what I'm about to share with you all.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Folks, this is the dullest week you've ever heard. I think when we spoke last week, I had a child breathing the cold of death. And he had the cold of death. It's still ongoing now. But do you know, the weird thing is, I definitely didn't feel right, but I never really got a cold. But none of the other kids got it. Like, you'd think a cold, especially a child with a cold who just goes, and you'll go, get it. Oh, my God. Anyway, he didn't spread it. He wasn't a super spreader, but he was poor lamb. He was pretty ill. So, it knocked me out then, because I'm not used to waking up multiple times in the night as well. And then he could come in being ill, and then he'd be like, Mum. And I'd be like, lying,
oh my goodness.
Going, you're like, no, I can't. And it's like coming in your dreams and you're like, I can't, no, please don't. And he's like, I'll in a minute. I'll come in a minute. I'd be like, then I go back to sleep and he'd come back and go, it's still Mum. I was like, oh my God, I'm so bad. You know, when they're newborns, you like get up, feed the baby, change the nappy. Bryn used to bring me a cup of tea, be like, what can I do? And I'd just be like, tea. Bring me tea, put Downton Abbey on. But now I could not every time be that. And then the next day it'd be like, God, how do you do it with a newborn, you're just, we were younger. And I think you're just in that zone of like, oh my God, it really knocked me out for a couple of...
I've got some friends though, who in their 40s have had like children. And I think, be in the trenches, mid 40s.
But I think probably as well, they haven't done it before. We've done it. So I think if we went back and we've done it. If you had to go and do it again, we're already scarred from it. But maybe because it's their first time, they're a little bit more excited. But yeah, I wasn't good. It really wiped me out. I just felt so tired. And then it makes that I'm really bad at the 2 p.m. slot. I have my lunch, cup of tea, sit down to do like an hour or so more work before I get the kids from school. And I was just like, oh my God. Oh my God, I can't stay awake.
I don't get that anymore when I'm self-employed. Now I'm self-employed. But when I used to work for somebody else, when I used to work for the man, goodness me, come 2:00. My head was on the desk.
Really? Because I didn't get that when I worked. Because when I was a PE teacher, so 2:00 would be like the bacon time. I'd be like outside getting those cones out.
Yeah.
But I remember we used to do like a 2 till 4:30, come in, and then it'd be freezing. You'd come in, you'd have a cup of tea. And then we used to have a club from like 5 till 6:30, and that going back out again. And then I was in heavy training for the Ironman. So at 6:30, then I'd be like, oh my God, I've got a 2-hour turbo to do. But I didn't have any kids. It's easy. Let's not complain about. So yeah, it was tough. But 4 gyms, Gary. I had to catch up on a gym, and then
my goodness me,
fit all my gyms in incredibly. The running took a bit of a hit, but I definitely need to keep moving in the gym, and it's feeling better and better. I did PB deadlift, Gary. PB deadlift. Just saying.
Well, we're on. What are you doing with the bar?
Do we need to share the numbers of the bar? Do people?
You ask me. You ask me what I.
Yeah, but you go like 3 kilograms. Let's just say it was above my body weight. Let's just leave it like that. It was heavy,
awesome.
Gary. It was heavy. The last one, I was like I was proper in the gym, because I serrated the bits of skin off my fingers, but I also like the last few reps, and then the last rep I like pulled it up and then I bang it down.
You slam it down, then turn around, face the gym.
Because there were only men in there who were all like banging stuff around. I was like, I'm gonna bang this down. I didn't really need to. I just felt it was
heavy flex.
Heavy flex. The long run the next day in the pouring rain was like horrendous. We're going up hills that like normally I jog up, and my legs were just like, the lactate would kick in really earlier, and I think that's a byproduct of like when you lift heavy weights, like the next day your legs are like so full of the lifting that they just haven't got, they're like, nope. My friends were going, and I was just like, oh my God, it was pouring with rain. It poured with rain the whole run. And I reached a new level of chaffing, Gary. It was raining, so not much sweating. I had 2 jackets on. I had my windproof and then my waterproof over the top because it's not that cold, but yeah, you just want to be like warm. I had some gloves that I could put on and off. So I wasn't sweaty, but from where the water had my cycling shorts are, where they'd got like wet up my back, the like lining of the thick waistband had chaffed the whole waistband is now on my back and on my tummy. Like the red, it had just like totally rubbed all my skin off.
You must have such sensitive
What is
skin,
going
Eddie.
on? Bryn was like, what? You look like you still got your shorts on. It is like that chaffing is outrageous. And I was like, oh, Rob, will you rub some cream or something in it? And he was like, oh, no thanks.
I never get any of that. I just feel like
the pain. And then I had a child come home from school as soon as I came in. So I just had to quickly put on a tracksuit without having a shower. No change there. While I made him his lunch. And I couldn't even get the peas out the freezer because the chaffing on my back up from the tracksuit bottom. So I was like, you're going to have to get the peas out. And he's like, I don't need peas, Mum. It's fine. Just some pasta. Oh, God. And it's still bad now, and that's like almost a week later. Why? Am I allergic to rain or moisture? Maybe I should never shower. I did have a shower and then I did feel better, and Bryn was like, well, maybe if you showered a bit more it would generally be a nicer place
for everybody.
So long run done, gym done, hill reps were done. Then Wednesday I was just gonna do, Wednesday's just my like easy miles because the kids don't have school or college on a Wednesday. So I just fit in what I do. I run like Gary, really slow. I don't know how you run that slow, but I try. Bit interrupted by the incredible Sophie Power doing her world record attempt. Oof. And so I was like, I had this 45 minutes and we had a WhatsApp group with her crew and they were panicking about various things. And I was trying to give it's all fine, all the reassurance. Was running around town holding my phone, wanting to explain to people, I'm a serious athlete. I don't normally hold my phone when I run, but I'm having to keep replying to these WhatsApps. I haven't told Sophie yet. She's the only person I would stop and continuously, obviously I wasn't WhatsApping her, but her crew, to keep reminding, keep her going. Doesn't matter. But I loved it. I love being part of a very small part of that. Not much else going on in life apart from the running. I don't know about you, but I when I'm working and the kids and the running, I find it hard to function with anything else. Like, how do people do anything else in life? I am so tired. Come like 6-7 o'clock, if I'm not in my fluffy tracksuit bottoms with my feet up watching Clarkson's Farm, which, by the way, was an excellent suggestion. And we've binged, and the kids have learned an important lesson with wanting to binge watch stuff, is that you can only watch it when every member of the family is present. And one of them is particularly bad, and I've seen him sneaking over and going like, oh, I just watched that. I'm like, no, you have to wait until everybody's there and to watch. But it's great. And even though there is, like, if you're listening and you're thinking, oh, family viewing, the swearing, the swear meter is bad. If you have older children that would understand that you don't say those sort of words maybe you do when the tractor, maybe that's the only time you say. I
don't mind swearing. Just don't devalue the swear word. Use it when it's needed.
But actually they do only use it because either an animal has died or the tractor's broken down. It's going to cost 20,000. But I don't
know many programs that go from like tragedy to just being hilarious within a minute.
Do you think that's farming though? That's just farming, isn't it?
Gotta be.
You have to take. Oh my gosh, I love it.
You were saying that Charlie's a runner, is that right?
Yes, I've done a bit of stuff. You know, Bryn and I, we go into everything. So it was Bryn that said, by the way, he's a runner. Go and look him up. Looked him up. So sent him a message, slipped into his DMs.
Oh, fingers crossed.
So real life, I just like, I love it because the kids will just sit and watch, and it's a good length. It's not a Netflix 20 minutes. It's almost an hour. So they're like, can we watch an episode? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's get that on. We had to light our fire, Gary, on Sunday. The weather has been so bad. Kids had football in the morning, went out, got absolutely soaked. Then we came back, stopped at the sausage roll shop. Well, it's a boulangerie, but we call it the sausage roll shop because they have vegetarian sausage rolls. I bought them all because why would I share that goodness with anyone else in Morzine? I will store those up for the weekend. We lit the fire and I still hadn't done my speed session, Gary.
Oh, Eddie.
No.
We talked about this just a few weeks ago, the workout on the weekend.
I had to do a Sunday speed session. No. It wasn't as bad. Like I had all these excuses, Gary. So, the biggest thing though, the podcast being, I'm like, oh, I can't go in the podcast and explain to Gary why I didn't do my speed session. Anyway, I couldn't get to the treadmill. That would have just been, it was just too tricky. So I did it outside. Do you know what, Gary? I had some power in these legs.
Ooh.
I haven't asked my legs. So I decided to do, instead of 5 minutes, I decided to do 4 minutes just because I was like, I was so tired. I was like 4 minutes and then 1 minute rest. And then I just know that will add up. That's easy to follow on my watch without trying to do the watch maths with 5 minutes. And I was like, I'll just do 4 minutes, 1 minute, and then I'll know exactly where I was. I absolutely loved it. My heart rate monitor failed. My AfterShokz earphones aren't charging, Gary. This is a disaster. So they failed. I had nothing but my breathing. But I thought of Trish and thought, RPE, just go as heavy as the breathing will go. At one point, I ran down like the main bit of town. Scared a few people going out for their Sunday coffee. Because when you listen to music, you can't hear that. And I know that's really bad. I know that's bad and I should really tune into my body, but I don't want to. I don't want to tune into my body. I don't want to hear it. I did hear it and I was like, oh my God, a wounded animal. But I enjoyed it. And I think last week I said on the treadmill, the speed wasn't there, but I was easily going sub 4 minute Ks in some bits, like feeling strong. I could feel those.
Yes.
Yeah, I was feeling fast. That is a lesson. It's like, however tired you are lying on the sofa with the fire on in Clarkson's Farm, you can find it. You often feel better with a warm up, start it, get it done, and just go for a shorter session. So 6 times 4, probably not short to some people, but for me, when I normally do like 400 hill reps, that felt like within half an hour I was done. Day's done. Get back home.
Well, it's better doing 6 times 4 than not doing 6 times 5, isn't it?
It is so much better. So all in all, even though the week was like pretty hardcore with a lot of childcare and ill children and broken sleep, I did tick every box. But I tell you what, it's not easy, Gary, and I cannot do anything else in life apart from work, run, sleep. And I kind of feel like, should I back off a little bit? Back off the running, back off the gym a bit? But the summer's going to roll around and I'm sure a lot of parents feel like this. And I kind of feel like, get it done now, because come July and August, even fitting in a long run will be tricky. And so kind of think push through June, and then July and August will just have to be what they'll be. And I'll look back going, I wish I was so tired that my legs are about to drop off again. So another week. Why are you so tired?
Unfortunately, the person that we were supporting on a Bob Graham round.
Should we tell the story of the Bob Graham round when you told it to me, when you sent me a WhatsApp? I think when I was out on my chaff scarring long run, you sent me a message. Let me read it out, dear listeners, to you and say, would you too think that this is, I'll have to scroll up because Gary sends me a million. Here we go. A million. What's that? Oh, well, maybe reading it again. Maybe I'm throwing myself under a bus. I'm on a BG round starting at 2 a.m. Sunday. Would you think?
I'm on a bit.
Yeah. I immediately rang him going, what? You're doing a Bob Graham round on Sunday? And he's like, no. Yes, I can see that you're on her, but I also thought. You
saw what you wanted to see.
I just saw what I wanted to see. Anyway, yes, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yes, so a guy called David from Elvet Striders, I think, and he's a friend of Aaron's. And basically, leg 5, they do it anti-clockwise for some reason, you guys from Elvet. I think it's quite popular. So leg 5, which would be Blencathra, Skiddaw, Great Calver, is usually leg 1 for everybody else. So yeah, unfortunately, I think he took a tumble coming off Dollywagon. Got to say, I felt a bit deflated, and part of me could have just quite easily drove back to the northeast, but we're sitting there at like 2:30 in the morning at Trailkill car park. It was just like, yeah, let's get it done. But we did it. We went, oh my goodness me, what a morning. Super clear sky. And off we went. We went down the railway tracks, then got up to Luttrig car park, up Skiddaw. And then we could just see the clouds rolling in. The sun was coming up. The moon was still out from the night. It was just such a sensational morning. And if ever you are kind of glad that you did do what you set out to do, yeah, very mindful of poor David, who was still up there, because as we were summiting Skiddaw, we could look round and see Clough Head. And yeah, we saw some head torches coming down from there. So I'm assuming that was David. So I can only assume he's really bashed himself up and he was moving super slow. But yeah, on we went into the bogs of Calver, and they never, ever disappoint. But we could just see there the clouds rolling in. And it was a bit of an inversion. But then we got to Calver. We were in the cloud for a bit. We were in the clouds, Calver, and the sun was coming up, and it was like some kind of dream time, Eddie. It was probably the most spectacular morning on the fells I can remember for a long time. And coupled with, apart from 2 wild campers, we had the whole
Did you
place.
run over them, like just smash through their campsite and go?
Well, yeah, you don't really see them until the last minute. Even with the first one I never saw. I'd said, Darren, listen, we've not seen anyone for hours. And he's like, well, did you not see the guy up on Skiddaw? I'm like, nope. And then at the bottom of Calver, you run past a sheepfold on the way before you cross the river, before you start the climb up to Blencathra. And there's a little sheepfold, and there was a little wild camper tucked away in the stone wall there.
I see a lot of them if I'm out early with the dogs, and the dogs take great joy in trying to get into their tents to say good morning to the wild campers. So.
But we had it all. We had it all. And this is, if anyone asks you, like, why do you do it? Why'd you do the trails?
Do people do that? Do people do that? Do they stop you?
Occasionally, I get asked.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Nobody stops me. But yeah, do occasionally get asked, why'd you do, why trails over roads, for example? And it's mornings. It's mornings like that. Yeah. It was absolutely sensational. But it's bittersweet because, yeah, we left the northeast. It must have been, I say 11 o'clock, I think roughly about 11 o'clock. So we obviously had a full day. I tried to have a couple of naps on Saturday, and that didn't go so well. But even now it's Tuesday, I'm still pooped. Absolutely.
So what did you do? Did you come home then and try and go to bed, or did you just...
Yeah, I went home. I didn't shower because I was just so exhausted. I just went straight into bed. I got a couple of hours, but yeah, got to. Well, they're not young kids anymore. They are young, but still, yeah, I was quite mindful that not to have to be present, be a dad for at least some of the day. So yeah, I had a few hours, then got up. I was supposed to do a lakes trip earlier in the week on Thursday. I was going to do a 13 Valleys recce, and yeah, I just woke up and thought, nah, I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to drive. Simple as that. And I was super cross with myself, but I think because I always knew there was a little glimmer of a lakes trip on Sunday morning, that it was easy to say no to this lakes trip on my own on a Thursday. But yeah, we'll rewind a bit, because most of my weeks, you're talking about 2 workouts there for the week, and like when I did the Garmin plan for Manchester, it was 3 workouts. But this training plan that I'm on at the moment only consists of 1 session and a long run. There's always strides. Most weeks there's maybe some minutes or something they crop up, but fundamentally it's just 1 workout, and I'm enjoying that because it's quite obvious when we were recording the podcast, when I was training for Manchester Marathon, I was struggling and I was moaning and I was down in the dumps with training.
Were you? No. Didn't come across that way.
And if you miss a workout, you can't roll back, I'll do that workout tomorrow, because if you try to do 3 workouts and a long run in a week, you've got to do them when you're supposed to do them. Otherwise, what happened quite a few times, actually, I ended up like really backloading my week quite a lot. So anyway, now with this 1 workout, and I don't really feel the load of maybe doing minutes too much in a long run, you just got a bit more flexibility. If I don't do my workout, which I didn't do until Thursday, that is not the end of the world. You still have this time to recover. And what I'm also hoping is, now I complained a lot previously, I did moan quite a lot, about going to the gym really had a negative impact on workouts because my legs were just pooped. When you're only doing 1 quality session and a long run, I don't think the gym is going to play as much of a big role in the training. But the workout I did was, oh goodness me, this gave me some anxiety. 40 minutes on the treadmill at 12%. Well, it said between 7 and 12. I wasn't sure if I read it wrong. I've got a friend who's doing the same plan, and he did his varying from 7 to 12.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, I just did it all at 12%. It was supposed to be that up tempo, which I think is like marathon pace effort. Obviously, it wasn't marathon speed, but it did drift into threshold zone from probably the last 20 minutes, if I'm honest. But I enjoyed it. But yeah, 40 minutes. Wow, 40 minutes is a long time, a lot of sweat. And I did put it off to Thursday, but glad I did it. Glad I sucked it up. And a pretty decent for that amount of time on a treadmill. It was well over 2,000 feet of elevation. So that was good. And what did I watch on the treadmill? Titans. I don't think you'd enjoy Titans.
No. Tell me about your post-hill treadmill cleaning session. Do you have a spray or do you have to employ somebody to do that?
I normally rely on the towels at the gym or the kitchen or whatever they got in the towel dispensers. They'd run out. I told him, I said, I'm going to make a mess of your machine, Brett. But he's like,
Gary, that's the stuff of dreams.
I sacrificed a buff, put it that way. A buff took the brunt of it. But yeah, what can I do?
You just wiped your sweaty buff over the treadmill. Oh my God. Remind me never to join your gym.
But it was good. Yeah, see, because 40 minutes in one hit without any rests. All, like I said, high zone 3, then to zone 4. Yeah, I found that that did fill me with a lot of anxiety. But maybe that is why there is only one workout a week, because 40 minutes at effort, definitely for me, goodness me, I'm not going to speak for everybody. For me, 40 minutes of graft, that's a big session. And I did feel pooped and I had to jog home afterwards. Did not enjoy those miles. What else did I do? Oh my goodness me, scrolling down. I think that's it actually. So all in all, yeah, an aborted trip to the lakes, which I was annoyed, about. And plain and simple, I just could not be bothered. But then, we made up for it the weekend. It's always funny though, because I always liked when I got the lakes, it's very precious getting that time away from the family. That run has to mimic 13 Valleys and Lakeland 100. 15 miles, I think 5,500 feet. Those ratios are Bob Graham round ratios, Old Company Tops ratios. They're not Lakeland 100 ratios, so cocked it up there. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Fun workout, one gym session. We'll talk about that, maybe what's coming up. We're entering the non-negotiable phase now with Lakeland 100 training. I did a couple of medium long runs, so I think this is also what's replacing the other workouts.
Some volume.
Yes. A lot more volume, and I am feeling I'm super tired all the time, to be honest. So yeah, it could be like I say, it was 15 miles, I think the longer, 15, 16 miles, so not particularly long, but time on feet, well over 4 hours. So that's a big deal. But then there was 2 other 11 miles plus runs within that week. So 3 quite big, significant runs. On gym, I need to improve on that. All in all, though, 88 miles of running and walking. I think it was 80 miles of running. I made a complete junk miles run on Sunday. So I did that run on Sunday.
You did. You're just impossible to have a rest day, aren't you? You're just like, well,
I could have, fair play. It was just ego. I wanted 80 miles for the week. As simple as that. I wanted to layer on more and more fatigue. I was just curious how I'd feel. And yeah, now I'm completely shattered. I could have walked Rex. I should have walked Rex, but Rex got a little 4-mile run.
I want to layer on more and more fatigue to see how I feel. I can tell you. The only thing I wish, Gary, I was looking at Katie Scheid's training for the Western States. She's putting in really similar. She is putting some 140-mile plus weeks in back to back to back. I wish people would share the bits in between. Like, are they like me when they stand up from the sofa? And I only do between 60 to 70 miles a week, tops, really. But my legs are tight. Like pushing the trolley around Carrefour, I'm like, trying to Strava this because it feels like this. How do these professional athletes live and function? And are they as stiff and tired? What nobody puts out the bits in between of them lying on the sofas or having
they're
to
a lot
live
younger than us for one, aren't they? That's a big benefits.
We'll talk about yourself. You're like 10 years older than me. So let's take the age.
4, 5.
What? Gary, I'm 32, remember?
Oh, I missed that one. Sorry.
Yeah, nobody does like, this is real. This is what it really takes. You just see it on Strava anyway.
Well, you do, if they're a full-time athlete, not all the full-time athletes, Elsie Davis, she works too and crushes the trails. But if you are a full-time athlete, I imagine you then should at least maximize recovery. You have that luxury of time that you can actually recover from these things. But yeah, 100 plus miles. And also the trails, bloody hell, Katie's running super fast compared to me. I always think, when I used to be more predominantly road running, I just spoke to Lisa. She loves these running chats that I force on her. But
she does. She is so lucky to live with you, Gary.
When I was more focused on the roads, I could quite easily be 90 to 100 miles a week. But the miles were a lot quicker. So the volume, the total time on feet, like I was 20 hours this week, all in all with dog walks and stuff. I probably maybe was more like 15 hours when I was training for road marathons, 10Ks, etc. So yeah, mileage down, but definitely time on feet is through the roof. And yeah, over 13,000 feet of vert. So I'll take that. Another solid week and Strava bars, Eddie. I know you check these things out. Very tidy my Strava bars. But I don't want to really run much more than 80 miles a week, if I'm honest. I will maybe add something else to the week, like maybe a second workout.
What would you cross-train? Never.
But it wouldn't be volume. I wouldn't add volume unless it was maybe an event, like say all Cubby Tops, maybe I did have a higher week than normal. But generally speaking, on a race week, I wouldn't want to stray too far north of 80 miles. Over to our coaches again. And this week, my co-host Bestie has a question. Basically, why do I get my period during the 2 mega long races I have done? Hello, coaches. It's me, Eddie. I'm not a patron, but I will sign up soon. Question from Rebecca. Why do I get my period during the 2 mega long races I have done? I'm sure it causes the first 24 hours to be super tough and the body goes into a sort of survival mode. Trish, have you experienced this or anything you can suggest to others that might have experienced something similar? Yeah, it's fascinating. I remember this because was it the Autumn 200 or which one was it? It was the first time I remember you talking.
All of them, Gary.
All of them.
All of them.
Then obviously Northern Traverse too.
Sorry, yeah, Gary had to share some feminine issues with me. Rebecca, any advice, any medical thoughts on this?
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot in the literature about this. I couldn't really find the reason as to what exactly is happening from a medical perspective. It could be that it's purely the impact that triggers some sort of shedding of the uterine lining to be earlier than otherwise expected. I can't come up with a sort of hormone explanation as to, unless that first 24 hours causes hormone levels to drop. So that drop in progesterone prior to your cycle, if that then occurs early, then you have a period as a result of that sort of stress. So depletion of that earlier may trigger a period, but it's difficult to know what exactly causes it and if it's the same in each individual where it occurs. So at the moment, don't think we've got a good explanation. Actually, if it's as common as it might be anecdotally, if that's the true prevalence, it's actually a really interesting thing to look at and to work out why it occurs, so that we can sort of either plan for it or give advice about it. But at the moment, I don't think the literature says a lot about what causes that. But my suspicion would be a combination of potentially impact, but also maybe that drop off in hormone levels, particularly if you're talking multi-day events. Does that then alter when you have a period because your hormone levels drop sooner than they would have otherwise be expected to drop?
My initial thought was that it was something to do with the progesterone, missing a night of sleep or very poor sleep, the impact and the calorie deficiency and the body going into a survival mode of we're going into some sort of apocalyptic state. You can't have a baby because you've suddenly not got calories. You're not what's happening basically. Plus the stress, I guess maybe the cortisol like massively rising in the body going. There's something potentially maybe as well, because normally my cycle is like spot on, really regular, normal cycle. So this massive hormone change, my body, which is normally very normal would suddenly go, what the hell? Because I've never had it in a shorter ultra. But as I said to you before we start talking about it, it's not like a normal period. It's much lighter, but it obviously does affect the race because in many ways, and I'm sure it affects my ability to absorb food as well. Trish, you had some thoughts on this too.
Yeah, I think it's really great that you've brought it up because I don't think it's talked about enough, particularly with women racers, and it's good for male racers as well to understand what's going on.
Just for sympathy.
Just to lend an ear. So I've had the same thing. So like a couple of days into the spine, I started my period, and again a light period, nothing to kind of write home about, but it was enough to kind of I remember I needed to get tampons because I wasn't expecting my period, so I wasn't carrying anything, and yeah, that's a good learning curve actually, because now I always carry a tampon. It wasn't heavy, but it was there, and actually it did stop. I'd say maybe sort of 30 odd hours, something like that.
Yeah.
Full thing. I have had that in longer races, but what I've found, so just in my experience in terms of friends and coaching, some of the trends I've noticed with women. So generally, like women in their 20s, I've found don't have a huge amount of issues with their periods. Generally, like if they are having their periods, that they don't really have anything to say about.
Just a minor inconvenience. Do you remember those days when they just...
like it's not a big deal. What I've noticed with runners, particularly in their 30s and 40s, is there's a big change. So and again, I think it does tie into your period shifting as things change in your body as you get older. In my own experience, I didn't have any issues in my 20s or early 30s, but I started getting really bad cramping, I'd say maybe like 4 years ago, horrific cramping prior to my period starting. That would be like two days or 24 hours before, to the point where sometimes I couldn't train or I couldn't do a run. And that happened to me on Dragon's Back. So I can tell when it's going to happen, even though I wasn't supposed to be on my period that week. The scale of what you're doing changes your body. So my period kind of came early, and that had a massive effect. In fact, I said to you, Gareth, I think I was like feeling sick, feeling quite nauseous. And then that's when I know it's going to come in, because I get the nausea and the cramping. After Dragon's Back, that kind of gave me the kick up the backside to really try and look to do something about it, because it was really impacting my running and my races and, just training generally. What I ended up doing, from speaking to lots of friends, is I ended up getting an implant. Again, this doesn't work for everyone, and it's worked for me in the sense of I still have a period, but it's much more controlled, and I also don't get any nausea or cramping now. And I don't know why that is exactly, because it seems to be dependent on each individual as to how the implant affects you, but that's been my experience. And since I've had that implant, I haven't had any nausea with my period. I haven't had any cramping. The cramping was the worst bit because it was debilitating. So it was really, really damaging my ability to train consistently. And I've had, since then, very consistent, very productive training blocks, because I've been able to do that stuff. So I think it's something that we do need to talk a heck of a lot more about in terms of women athletes, and be much more open to different ways of how we can combat it. I did a huge amount of research into it, things like premenopause and stuff like that as well. There isn't a huge amount out there, and it's really, really difficult. So the key thing I would say is to try and to approach doctors, to approach your friends, and as well, because there will be other people out there who have had experience, and the more you talk about it, the more chance you have of trying to find a solution that works for you. Yeah, so hopefully if someone's hearing this, there are different ways to go about that and trying to make things better. It has a huge impact on female racers, period. I think very much, but our position, us as ultra runners, we're very much a sucker up. And like I said, I've had pain to the point where it's absolutely debilitating and I can't even do a basic training run. And if that happens to you in a race, you know, for example, like that happened to me on Dragon's Back, that's really, really hard to get through and to, you know, to keep pushing through. But the more we understand about it and the more people talk about it, I think that finding a way through is and if it's helpful to other people, I think we definitely should be talking about it.
Rebecca, I guess the only way I would know would be by doing a blood test the morning of the race and then blood tests throughout a race to measure the level of progesterone.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how we would be able to do research into it. It's very interesting, the difference between, as you say, women in the 20s and then women who are sort of 40s approaching menopause age, because as you say,
I thought at first it might be the menopause. That's you know, and obviously there are other things as well, like fibroids and stuff like that actually people should be. So if you don't know what fibroids are, look it up. But as a woman, you know, these are things that you definitely need to have at the back of your head again, so you understand. But yeah, like you said, Rebecca, I didn't know.
As you get older, you've got more things which are more likely to make that womb lining unstable or bleed heavier, and you have changes to your cycle as those hormones fluctuate more in sort of perimenopause period, which we know looking back can start earlier than we think it can start. So it'd be interesting to know if there is a massive difference between younger women's experience of this and women who are more towards menopausal age. Also, what happens to women who are on hormonal contraception and women who are already on HRT? What's their experience? Do they get bleeding as well during? Because in theory, they should have constant levels of hormone, irrespective of what's going on, because they're having synthetic hormones. So, you know, they're having those artificially raised. So even if they get the same sort of breakthrough type of bleeding, that would make me think maybe it's more that sort of impact and mechanical. Yeah. If they don't get it at all, then you'd think, yes, it's hormone, isn't it? It's particularly, and that's why it happens in multi-day events, because you haven't got time to have it in a sort of 24-hour event, but you've got the hormones could certainly drop down over a 5-6 day event. So it'd be really interesting that, see if there's any. Yes, I wonder if it prompts a conversation, this question. So I'm really glad it's asked. Someone's asked it, because it's something that I've not thought about myself really. I was on my period, the first ultra I did, but that was just bad luck. That I knew that was going to happen. So I did have tampons in my vest because I knew it was going to happen. So you just there's nothing you can do about it.
It's really cruel of God, because I had my period like 10 days before. So I'd been through all that thinking, yes, light and fast now, Eddie. And I'm not good. That's why I didn't have any tampons, because I was like, I'm going to be strong, because I'm always the strongest in the middle of my cycle. I'm not going to have any gut issues. I'm going to be flying. And then obviously something's not working, but it must happen. Trish, you are the person I know, you know, the most who's also done these mega races, and it's happened to you. So there must be a denominator in common, and it must happen to other people. And there must have been, hopefully, and if not, we need to go. The thing is, I'm not sure if I went to a GP and said to them, what would I do? They'd probably say, well, maybe don't do these races, Eddie, because your body is telling you not to do these races, unless it was Rebecca and she'd be like, let's set up a study. Because I guess the only thing if we talk about it, we can be prepared and maybe not freak out when it happens, just know that it's going to happen, because actually the actual period that I have is not debilitating. It's just like, because I'm not prepared for it, it's like, oh no. And then of course it's having to deal with a period on a course where you've not got any, and again, this might be something, you know, you're going between, 8 and 18 hours without any facilities or anything. So you can get yourself in a bit of a pickle as well. So maybe that's something we need to talk about more as women that do these mega races, that we do need to be able to access a Portaloo.
I also think it prompts a conversation that if women really suffer with their periods, that isn't necessarily normal. So periods shouldn't be mega heavy. They shouldn't be really painful. They shouldn't be taking you out of running and work for 2 or 3 days a month. That's not normal, and that should be looked at, and that should be, hopefully now, as time has gone on, much more empathetically addressed by GPs who are much more aware of these issues. and particularly perimenopause and women's experience of their periods changing. And it isn't just normal to not be able to do sports when you've got a period, you know. So I think if nothing else, maybe it'll prompt a conversation for people to be, and then any bleeding they do experience during the race should hopefully then be lighter and manageable and you know, and expected. But I think there's a lot still to be done about diagnosing all kinds of conditions which lead to heavy or painful periods like endometriosis. We know that's such a delayed diagnosis in a lot of people. So yeah, having the conversation about periods and particularly women who do sport is a really good opportunity to say what is acceptable and what should be looked at, I think.
Yeah, if there's research scientists out there looking for maybe a PhD, not sure what they want to do, I'm happily, and I'm sure lots of with sign up, come and study us, please.
I just say one thing as well with the, in terms of going to the GP, again, in terms of experience of clients as well that I've had, there's a tendency from what I've experienced and heard is for people to brush it off. And I hate to say this, but less, obviously more so from a male doctor. There is a tendency to brush it off. And also there's considerable waiting times for, for example, if I wanted to get the implant in my GP surgery, I had to go on a 6-month wait list. And I was like, that's just insane. But the way to get around that, I found, was going to the local sexual health clinic where they slot it in the afternoon.
Which you're a regular at anyway, so you just...
I thought, hey guys, slot me in. There's a funny story there, but probably not for us. Probably not for this. A long run. Top tip. If you're having trouble with your GP surgery, get yourself down to a local sexual health clinic and they'll square your way.
Oh, thanks for the advice. And as ever, you always feel better after talking about these sort of things. Bryn was a bit shock horrored when I said I talked about my period on the podcast, and he was like, and then when he listened, he was like, "Oh no, it was really good. You were right to like talk about it." Even Matt's was a bit graphic, but if we don't talk about it as women, that is happening to us, then. And we keep brush it under the carpet and stuff, or don't feel that we can talk about it. Well, that's been that's why there's no studies. That's why people don't know about it, because we don't share it. So I thought, let's share it out there. And immediately Trish is like, yeah, I've been in the same boat.
So many athletes I know have had have had similar issues. Yeah. And it does seem to be that key stage, I would say from kind of 35 upwards, that kind of bracket. Where it kind of almost kicks in, not with everyone, but yeah, with a significant amount, I would say.
It's probably as well the age when we start doing these really stupid endurance long stuff as well, because in my 20s and 30s I was really fast, so I did like 50k and now it's just I'm old and slow. I've just gone longer and longer as my poor progesterone has plummeted at the same time.
Like, why do you do endurance at sports? Because I'm too slow for the other stuff. I just need to go basically until people are like, well, I can't be bothered to do this anymore, and therefore
then we just get the Nordic walking poles out, Trish, and meet each other for 300-mile walks. Sorry if that was a bit of overshare for you, Gary, and everybody else, but I will be assured, I'm sure that lots of people will resonate with this, and maybe some people will have some ideas and solutions as too. We will be sitting down with our coaches very soon, so if you have a question and you're a patron, slip into the email box, hello@tntrails.com. No question too big, too small, too dirty. We're in it.
Smoking fast Zoe Murphy joins us this week. Dragons Back Race, UTS, Lakeland 100, She Ultra, my goodness me, and loads more too. Zoe loves the trails and the mountains. Bumped into Zoe a few times, Lakeland 100, and she was the roving reporter at the 2023 Dragons Back Race. Always a pleasure to share some time with Zoe Murphy.
Zoe Murphy joins us today. Full on. That's a full on April and May. I think full on years for Zoe. 2 big races already, She Ultra and UTS 100K. First place at She Ultra 2. Zoe, last time I saw you visage to visage, face to face, I think was somewhere on the spine route where you
Yes, it was.
I can't remember where it was, but you were somewhere, like you were in the middle of nowhere and you just
the other
appeared.
side, before you go up Penny Fan.
Yeah.
It was the other side of whatever the climb was, to the other side of that. We walked up there and you and James were like trudging your way along.
And I think we're in quite a we wanted to get over like Pennygent in daylight. Yeah. Pennygent in daylight, but it was a low point and you suddenly like appeared like an angel and were like full of energy and because you get so like in a trudge and in like a half asleep mode basically. So that was lovely. Oh, that was so nice to see somebody friendly face.
It's so amazing seeing like you guys out on the course because you just can't appreciate it. You've done it now. So now when you see people, you get it, but you can't appreciate what they're going like. Oh, just in awe of you all. You're coming past and you just look like zombies, but it's just
but you can't as well back at ya, sister, because the appreciation when people are just like standing in the middle of nowhere, have made the effort to come out and see you and follow your dot, and then they don't ask for anything, they're just there and they just cheer and give you a hug, and then you're like off you go, and like that I've never forgotten that like stays with you forever. So it works both ways, and I'll do the same when you do the spine.
Brilliant. Thanks. Noted.
How was that for you, Zoe, when you Dragons Back race? You were like the roving reporter. I remember seeing you pop up quite a lot with your phone, jogging along people. What was that like, being on the other side of the fence? Media team.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was mega. I was meant to be doing support crew and volunteering on support crew. And then I think I was just chatting with Shane. We'd been away running or something. And there was a few rejigs in his team, and he was like, we really need someone to help with the social media side of it. And he was like, isn't that what you do for a living? I was like, well, it's part of what I do. So anyway, he wrote me into that, and it was brilliant. So I got all over the course, saw you guys everywhere, basically followed Hugh and Robin around the whole of the Dragons Back course. And it was brilliant. It was good. You've
been there before. Did you notice a big difference because the Dragons then became the Hatchlings, the camp being busier? Was that, do you think, a better vibe as the week went on?
Yeah, I do. That's what I would say. I think it's a much better feeling because I've been the other side before. The Hatchling really existed as a, should we say, a thing. It was more the year I did it in 2021. You could, if you didn't make those days, you could drop. It was just, if you want to, you can drop, you can continue. The options were there, but it wasn't a thing like it was now where it's sort of, you can drop to those halves, you still get your Hatchling trophy, etc. And I think it made a massive difference on camp. There was a much better vibe, more people. Yeah. I mean, I remember the year I did it, after day one, I was in a tent of 8 women and I was the only one left on day one. It was like, this is a bit lonely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's brutal.
Yeah. So I think in that way, it's much better, definitely.
I'd agree. From a competitor, I didn't pause as I say that, but from someone who was like, in the trenches, yeah, definitely. I appreciated the week being... It's quite busy all week. And I loved it out on the course. I've said this loads of times, actually. With the way that they let the Hatchlings go, it always felt like there was somebody en route with you. You weren't just like, say, a time trial, super quiet, especially the later part of the days.
I love the word hatchling too. They're little cute people.
The Cape Wraths, the explorers, isn't it? They call the people.
Yeah, they're not as cute, are they? You don't really want to. Look, there's all the hatchlings. Watch them go.
You expect these little people to
go. Cool. Okay, we ask every guest, where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run today?
I am in a little village called Holt, which is just outside of Wrexham, North Wales. My view out the window is the sky because my office is on the 3rd floor of my house. So I've just got a skylight. So there's not a lot to see out my window. And have I been run today? No. I managed to twist my ankle over the weekend, thanks to my very energetic 11-month-old puppy who came doing some Dragons Back recceing with me and managed to pull me over, and I've twisted my ankle. So it's purple and swollen.
Oh, my goodness, mate. Did you always run with him on a harness?
Because he's young, I've only really just started running him. So we've sort of only been running a couple of months and we're building it. Absolutely on a harness because he's obsessed with sheep. And this is the problem. This is where the problem lies.
What breed is he, though?
He is an Aussie Shepherd.
Hence the sheep obsession.
Hence the sheep obsession, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful dog, though. My goodness me. very photogenic. You say you live in Wrexham, local trails. What's it like straight out the door? You got big vert?
Straight out the door, no, but lovely trails as in can easily go for an 8-9 mile, literally out my door, not a problem. Within 10-minute drive, we've got sort of Cheshire Trail, Sandstone Trail, which if you want to do the whole thing is about 30 odd miles, but there's a good little hilly section near us, so you can easily go and do, you know, an hour or two. That's literally super close. And then being where I am, I can get to Snowdonia in an hour and a half. I can get to Offers Dyke in 25 minutes. I can get to the Lake District in 2 hours. Yeah. So a pretty good spot for at the weekend, just disappearing off for adventures. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds sensational. And what was your pathway into trail and ultra running? A lot of people, 5Ks, park runs, 10Ks, marathons, then they get chatting with the wrong crowd and then they end up on the trails and then doing ultras. Is that kind of your pathway?
Pretty much the pathway, yeah. Slightly different, but pretty much. Took up running in my mid to late 20s. Wasn't a runner, unfit, barely could run half a mile. Always active, but not a runner at all. And then I think a mate at work was doing a 10K or something, and I'd go to the gym a bit. Anyway, got roped into that, all fine. Can't say I really loved it, but did it. And then that elevated to a half marathon, which again, you get roped into these things, and I did it. And I was like, oh, that was good. I didn't really get that bug where you're like, oh, this is my thing. Yeah. And then I did a marathon, and that was where I got the bug. So I did Kielder Marathon up near you, wasn't it?
Oh, wow, yeah, so that's a journey. Oosh.
That's what got me hooked. I was like, that short stuff, that's not for me. The long stuff.
That involves breathing, heavy breathing.
Breathing hard.
Breathing hard.
I think Kielder shocks a lot of people. I think it's billed as undulating, but if you're used to the roads, then, yeah, that definitely feels like quite a hilly course.
But it's nice because it's trail. You've got no expectation. So you just sort of run and there was no time, there was no expectation. It was just to complete a marathon. So that was quite nice for the first one.
It's a very good event, that one. Self-coached athlete, or do you have a running coach?
Self-coached. I am a run coach, so I coach myself.
Do you write your plan, Zoe? Or do you just go, yeah, that's what I'm going to do this week?
I don't write a plan like I would for my athletes, where you sit there and give them the week's plan. Like, you know it. What you do know is what you've got to do. Like, I'll be on, let's just say I'm on a hill rep progression or whatever. You just know in your head what the progression is. I know what I've got on this weekend if I'm going to the lakes or whatever. So you sort of work backwards because you know your week and you know what you need to do. So no, I don't sit there and plan a week, but it's in your head.
And then do you change around days when if you're like, I don't feel like it today, it's not working? Yeah. Are you quite like structured?
I used to be very structured. And I think with age, experience and wisdom, listening to your body as we get a bit older, you also go, do you know what? Today, I'm just not feeling it. So sometimes you switch it round. Sometimes work depicts that, doesn't it? You just have to go, it is what it is, and move it round. The puppy has been a massive, he has influenced my training. I mean, I'm not actually, over the winter, I didn't train anywhere near as much as I normally would. Just can't. He has taken over my life. But I'm starting to see the rewards. Now I get to run with him. So yeah. We're getting it back. We're getting it back.
Yeah.
Well, that harness, you can have super strong core, Zoe. I remember, who was it? Tom Evans. I was moaning about Rex dragging me all over the place, and he'd put a positive spin on it, saying that, yeah, you can have a super strong core. I'm curious again, Eddie, you're a coach. Because I'm not coached, I have a lot of anxiety when I'm going to a race. Have I done enough? Have I done too much? And I think sometimes a coach would be a great benefit to kind of take that responsibility off myself and say, look, Gary, relax. You've done all the workouts. As coaches, do you wrestle with that, even though you've got all the knowledge?
On a person, I think like you, if you've done it, if you've done the training, then I don't see it. I'm not really a nervous person on a start line. I was listening to Trish speak last week. Bloody love Trish. But she, a bit like, you're there, you've done the training, you've done the hard work. And I say it to my athletes, like, what good is worrying? There's no point standing there worrying. It doesn't do anything. You've done the training. The race is the bit to be enjoyed. I know it's hard work and we bust the gut and we're dying and we look horrible and you're breathing out, but the point is the race is the bit to enjoy. You've done the hard work for the last 6 to 12 months. You've paid to be there, so enjoy being there.
Yeah, very true. Very true. What would a typical week look like for you? Do you go down the gym, workouts, obviously long runs?
Typical week, similar to everyone else, probably 2 to 3 key sessions. Long runs done at the weekend because work 9 to 5 like everyone else. like most people. So I try and get to Northwest Snowdonia, lakes, whatever at the weekend, probably depending on what race you're doing at the moment. I'm training for Dragon's Back, so I'm trying to get out on the route and get recce's done on that course. And then in the week, it's a bit time efficient. So probably got an hour, max 90 minutes for a session. So I'll try and do a couple of key sessions, some easy running, strength and conditioning, home strength conditioning. I have got a bit of a gym in the garage. I've bought some kit along the years. So it is much easier for me to just get in the garage. Am I doing it? That's probably a different question. I used to be really good and religious, and we all find excuses, but the puppy has taken over my life. I'm getting back to it now, which is good. The last 6 months have been no, but I am on a mission now till Dragon's Back is back to my strength and conditioning. Mission on.
Love it.
Non-negotiable, as Gary and I
exactly.
like to say.
Yeah.
I've got one more question with the Dragon's Back race. Are you going to go? There's obviously the route that you can get a GPX file, and they've got these optional routes, I suppose, where you can take a better line. With your recce's, are you trying to maximise?
Yeah, you're always going to, because you're out on the recce's, you can do it a couple of times. You can sometimes go, oh, we'll go that route. Oh, actually, let's just hike up there, look over the other side. Oh, look, there's a trod there, or there's a path. If you can get out on recce races like that, then you have a massive advantage. But I also get some people just can't. I'm going to get to go out because I live not that far from most of the route. So if you can improve those lines, I mean, God, the amount of people that have been over them now, let's take Hugh from last year. You probably just have to look at his GPX. He's got the lines, it's not...
True.
It's not rocket science now. The lines are out there to be had. So it's just studying some other people's maps along with the recommended route. They've tweaked some of the mandatory routes because there was definitely some shortcuts that could be taken that they've now made mandatory, so you can't take them. Day one, for example, there's a Cribgoch area that had a shortcut.
Yeah.
That you can't
I
anymore.
saw that. I remember looking down thinking, what the hell? How did he get down there? It was that really pissed me off.
Yeah. So that was going to be my little one of the shortcuts this year, and then I saw they've moved it to mandatory. I was like, gutted, but hey, anyway.
Are you quite comfortable, Zoe, on that sort of terrain over Cribgoch and scrambling?
Absolutely not. I'd laugh because if you spoke to Trish or Robin, I've been on recce's with them. We did the Welsh 3000s last year. They're skipping along like it's a footpath, and I'm clinging on for dear life. I hate it. Literally, Trish was stood on the top like, yeah, I'm loving this. And I'm like, Trish, will you get down? Just get down.
So would you prefer Cribgoch full of clags so you can't see what you're doing, or glorious sunshine?
Tough one. I think if I know it, I'd probably say so that I can see, so I can see where I'm going.
Yeah.
But if you were going to just take me over a ridge, and I'd probably say clag, just follow the person in front. You don't know what's either side, and then when you get to the other end, they can go, do you know what was down there?
Yeah, that's my philosophy. Just follow the person in front, follow their feet, don't look down. Stay in the box. Stay in the box. Don't think what if. Let's talk a little bit about She Ultra, because we had Sophie and Hugh on only a few weeks ago now, and your name was mentioned, winning the women's race. An amazing route. It looks like an amazing route. How was the race, and why did you choose to do that race?
The route's amazing. It's such a beauty. That Flint Peninsula, there's Hugh does a number of other races on there, and I have done those. I've spent a lot of time on that peninsula as a child as well, so there's a big place in my heart for it, which is one of the main reasons I sort of did it anyway. I think an all-female race was always an opportunity not to miss. It was just nice. I know, something different, isn't it? And I think Hugh, I've got to know Hugh over the years, and there was a few of us he got involved in. There's a good handful of ambassadors that were there. So Nia Alberston and myself got involved from the start. We did some recce runs because there were so many newbies in it, so many. And it was just, it was amazing to see them step out that comfort zone and go, do you know what? I'm going to give this a go. To be on those recce's and speak to them, they were literally like, I might have done a park run, or I've never even stepped on a trail. Middle of winter, they turned up in their road running shoes and they were slipping and sliding all over the place. In one run, they've simply learned so much. And it was amazing to see some of these women just turn around from, I think it just changed some of their lives. Absolutely. Speaking to them, they were like, this has changed my life from a community perspective, from a realization of what was capable. They look at people, let's say like you and me, Eddie, who go, I can never do that. They're they're abnormal or something. And actually you go, we're not, we're just
we
normal
are slightly weird. Yes.
Well, okay, slightly weird, but just normal people who work hard to achieve what they want to achieve, that. And I think that's what they realized, that actually they could achieve these things. And it was just brilliant to see that the smiles on people's faces all day from the start to the finish. The DNF rate was 20 people or something.
I don't even think it was that many, was it? And half of them were because they were like underage, and so had to they were only allowed to do like half the distance or something. Yeah. I actually think that those women that are standing on the start line, having only done like a park run and stuff, they're much braver than you or I, because we would never have put ourselves, or I was thinking for myself, I would only go into a race like being fully prepared, done everything, and yet these women were like prepared to let's just get stuck in. Let's just try. Let's just see. Might not be the fittest. I might not have the right kit, but I'm just going to do it. And that's like hugely inspiring to me.
Absolutely. And people traveled. So there was a lot of people who were from, I don't mean the area just there, but within the area. And then there was a lot of people who had traveled a long way, and they were like, nope, we don't know what the area is like at all. And then by the end, they were just like, this is the most beautiful place. And it was a beautiful day.
It was a beautiful day.
Yeah. If the weather had been some sort of spine weather, I think it might have been slightly different. But it was a beautiful day, putting the area in such a spotlight. 500 runners this year, and he's got 1,500 places for next year. And he was telling me he's already over 1,300 runners.
Is it the first time you've ever run without any men in a race, just being women?
Yeah.
How was that like on the front of the race? Because obviously you're normally at the front of the race, but there will be men that will go off fast that you'll be running next to. Or was it a bit more of a lonely experience, or was it actually really nice that you could dictate the pace the race went off at, basically?
It really doesn't bother me, men and women. So some people really like that. Oh, I just feel comfortable running with women. And I know sort of you've chatted about it with other people on the podcast and things. It really doesn't bother me. I actually like running with men. I like running with women. And I think when you do get to run at the top of the field, you are very used to running with men. Let's be honest, quite often it is dominated by men. So if you are up there, then you spend a lot of your days with men, basically.
Yeah. So it wasn't, because what I always think is, and I wondered, was it nicer that the women could dictate the pace the race went off, rather than when we run with men, they dictate that first 5 miles. And I often think they go off so fast, and you think, oh. But
I think women are better at running their own race.
Yeah.
So you might see the lads sprint off. Prime example, I ran a race, Shropshire Way 80K, maybe 2 months ago. I watched the lads go off like it was a 5K. I was like, nah, you guys can just go for this. And I watched my mate go off, and we'd had a chat at the start to go, right, we're both being sensible. He had the 100-mile UTS, I had the 100K, and we were like, this is a training race. Don't be stupid. We had that chat, and literally the gun went, and he was like a rabbit in headlights, and he sprinted off with these lads. And I was thinking, okay, run your own race. And within 18 miles, there they were. And I was like, oh,
it's the classic. I always give it 20 miles. I'm like, you got 20 miles in you, haven't you? And then you'll all start coming back to me. Was it just a building block for you, that race towards UTS? Were you just using it as a bit of a training run?
Yeah. Training run this year is slightly different. I just hadn't, because of the puppy, I hadn't got all the training I wanted. So I went down a bit of a tactic I haven't done before, almost race myself fit. So I did Chester 50, I did Shropshire Way 80K, and I did the She Ultra as a way of getting fit, using those races as long runs and really pushing myself and springboarding from each one to then get to the UTS 100K.
Did it work?
It worked very well from a fitness perspective. It did work really well, actually. Yeah, all the races went really well. Obviously, you get to practice your nutrition, all the rest of that. So it did work really well. Doesn't work for everyone. But it
no, but I think you're so hard to replicate pre-race feelings, and also during race nutrition. No one 99.9% of people, the nutrition doesn't go wrong in training. Nutrition is bang on. They're confident with their nutrition, and it's the races where it goes wrong. And so you can only create that at a race and practice at a race. And I think it's quite a good idea, especially when you've got a little bit more experience, to use races as a little springboard of practice, work out what
Absolutely.
works,
And
feedback.
I think because I hadn't spent a winter, normally we spend our winters doing a load of training, and I hadn't, that actually I was actually quite fresh and unfit. And the truth was, I was like, how do I get fit quick? And that was honestly my little sort of, I need to get 100k fit in actually quite a short chunk of time. Really, I started training in February. I'd done some running, but like I said, I was time limited. So my training block was February till May, really.
Unfit, but full of puppy love.
Well, exactly. Fueled by puppy love. Puppy love and covered in bites and claw marks is what I was full of. But so it was quite a short window rather than a winter of training. Yeah, for me, because it was quite fresh, I could push race to race to race. You weren't fatigued from a long winter of training that you could then go push it through the races.
And also quite nice to do something different when, like, you and I, we've been in this game a little while now, and so quite nice to mix it up, do something different and try something different, and also to show perhaps your clients as well that it doesn't all, life dictates what you do, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be a perfect block as well.
I think also it was to, well, I don't mind rocking up to a race not 100% fit. Some people have a big anxiety of going, all eyes are on me, I have to perform. If you don't race, you're never going to, again, as we just said, practice nutrition. You're never going to, you can't perform perfect every time. So some races, you've just got to rock up, and whatever's in the tank is in the tank. And I think that is something that a lot of people struggle with, whereas we only actually are competitive with ourselves. So what will be in the race. So I think just to rock up and give it a go is no bad thing.
Yeah, nobody cares. Only Gary cares.
Nobody cares. This is the point. Nobody cares.
It's hard though. You mentioned how undisciplined men are at the early stages of a race. Yeah, I don't mind a practice race, but you've got to treat it as a training run. Otherwise, you just can't get the recovery.
You are quite good at that though, Gary. I don't give you kudos very often, but you are quite good if you say it's going to be a training run, or you are quite good at pacing yourself. I have run with you and you are really slow when you want to be. So that is
great. 26 minutes in. There we go.
Do you want to move on to UTS, Gary?
Well, I'm curious. Are you going to go back and defend your title?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Well, because next year it goes the other way, so it's like a different race, isn't it?
Oh, awesome. I like it.
Next year it's going to start on the beach and go round the peninsula the other way and finish in Pathelli. So it should be good. Yeah, I think we'll go back and do a bit of defending.
Oh, that sounds rough, actually, the beach finish.
It was, and especially depending where the tide is, it has groins down the beach. You have to jump over wooden...
I'd still be there.
Wooden fences, basically. Yeah.
No jumping. No. These knees don't jump.
Well, you said getting 100k fit, but you chose 100k like not many others out there. 20,000 feet, 60 odd miles. Why the UTS 100k?
A few reasons. I absolutely love Snowdonia. Absolutely love it. It holds such a special place in my heart. I've done the 55k, 50k. I did that a few years ago, and that was a really good race. And the 100k got me a Western States lottery ticket as well.
Yes, awesome.
So that is a race. Well, back to that thing of why did I get into ultra running? The Western States was the reason I got into ultra running. I read a book, Ultra Running Man, by Dean Carnegie, whatever his book's called, Ultra Marathon Man, and it was about the Western States. And I read that book knowing nothing about ultra runners, going, this sounds mental. People run 100 miles. And it just triggered something in my brain. So ever since then, which was 2006, 2017, I was like, I need to do this race. And this is my whole ultra journey, basically, to get to the Western States. So,
we know Dean. He's a good friend of ours. We could probably get you a few more tickets for that Western States.
He's got a lot to answer for, hasn't he, old Dean? I remember reading that book. And again, Western States, I remember reading this story. Oh, what's the name of the river? The Chucky River or something. He's going across holding the chain. Absolutely sensitive. So it's massively oversubscribed. So what are your odds? You've got the lottery ticket. What's the chances of getting in?
I don't know what the odds are, but every year you try and apply, your lottery ticket rolls over. and your tickets grow exponentially. So I think I've now tried successfully something 4 or 5 times. So I think I'm about to go in with potentially 16 lottery tickets. It exponentially goes up each year. But you have to do a qualifying race in the year to get into the lottery. And that's what the UTS was.
Unlike UTMB, where you have to do, say, maybe one of the franchise races, as long as the race kind of ticks
has that
boxes.
little, has a little...
It has X. No, the Western States is X races. So the Centurion races, UTS, Lakeland 100. So Gary, you see, you can put your ticket in.
Yeah, get your ticket in.
But there's certain races. It's not just a case of like a criteria. There are, I think it's 5 in the UK, and then there's lots in America, but 5 in the UK. So you have to complete one within a certain amount of time that gets you the lottery ticket, basically.
I wonder if you can physically buy tickets too. Could you just hand over hard cash? No.
I wish. No. I wish, but no. Even them, I don't think we can afford it. So
Do the work, Gary. Can I pay for this in some way?
I bet you can. I'm going to check that out. And so, will UTS, obviously, fingers crossed. Wow, Zoe, that would be awesome if you got into Western States. But is this just another break, another layer of training towards Dragon's back race at the end of the year?
100%. It was the B race of the year. You know, Dragon's back to the A race. This was the B race. It was, replicates that sort of day 1, day 2 elevation, terrain. It is on some of the day 1 terrain. So I think it is without a doubt a stepping stone towards Dragons. Yeah, for sure.
Well, you've got UTS 5 on the 100K. I think there's 5 summits over 3,000 feet.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Which is just insane. So you're going up and down something like that.
Yeah.
Half a dozen times. That is wild. But it's quite a quick turnaround, Zoe. So you got She Ultra April and then UTS May. Recovery, how did that go? And what did those weeks look like?
To be honest, there wasn't. So for She Ultra, Chester 50, Shropshire 80K, I didn't do very much taper. It wasn't sort of proper tapers for the races. Like I said, they were just stepping stones. So I just trained right up to normal till the weekend before, ease off a bit in the week, did some training, and then just did the race, take a few easy days, and then just ease back in. It was quite back to back on that. And then obviously UTS, I did a proper taper, 2-week taper, and just got as fresh as I could. Yeah, felt pretty good going into it. I probably say I didn't have as much mountain fitness as I'd like. Probably only done half a dozen days in the mountains, but I knew I had fitness in me. So I thought, just don't go crazy at the start, run steady, and that will see me through. This was the plan anyway. There's always a plan. You've got to start with a plan.
You got to start with the plan. And you've already said, I was going to ask you actually start line emotions, but you seem like you're going to be pretty relaxed on the start line.
She's chilled. She's just hanging out on the portaloos, chatting.
I quite like a start line. You see who's there and you have a little chat with some people, and then I am quite quiet on a start line, but I just have a little moment of thinking and just... I don't know, just always actually do have an appreciation moment for you being there, and we get to do some really cool stuff.
I hate them. I literally I would not go near it. Do you remember at Northern Traverse, I was hiding behind the bus stop, and then you're like, right, it's going to start. And then I just even looking at it makes my heart rate go into lactate threshold. And I just want it to start. I just want it to be over. That first 10 minutes of a race is I just hate it. I don't know why. Anxiety of all those people and all that heavy breathing.
The moment that gun goes, it just is like a level of calm that just comes over you, doesn't it? The moment you go, you're like, oh, I'm fine now. It is just...
I'm not too sure. I remember passing you, or you passed me, going up to Old Coniston, Lakeland 100. And I wasn't calm then, even though the gun had went off probably 20 minutes ago. I was oh goodness me, I was mega stressed out that first start of the...
You ran past just going on about your heart rate. I can't get my heart rate down. I can't get my heart rate down.
As he's running past you too fast, and you're like, well...
He was just going on to Robbo I can't get my heart rate down. I think that was elevating your heart rate by stressing that you couldn't get your
100%. I was pretty... I'd worked myself into a frenzy, I think, by that point. I get quite emotional. Maybe it's something going back to the road running days when... Maybe you'd be on the start line of the Great North Run and there's tens and tens of thousands of people, but you'd see on the back of people's vests maybe why they were running for maybe a charity or some personal reason. And I visualize people's journeys and why they are there and what they're going to go through over the next 24, 30 odd hours, depending on the length of the race. Yeah, I do get pretty worked up, but I do fundamentally, I get a bit emotional. And then when the music starts, that is pretty wild. What time of day did it start? Because forecast was hot. Was it hot on the start line?
Wasn't too hot on the start line because the race started at 4:45. So it was actually quite nice on the start line. It was, yeah. And I drove from home, so I think my alarm went off at 1:30 in the morning.
Oh, dear Lord.
That sounds horrendous.
But I just thought, you know what? I'm an hour and a half away. My bed is, I just was like, for the hassle of camp, I was like, I'm just going to stay in my bed, get up early.
Yeah. You're not going to sleep well, are you? So you might as well have the drive.
4:45 start. So it was shorts and t-shirt, but it was lovely to start with because it was just a really nice, realistically, the first few hours was lovely because it was just, you know, the heat hadn't cranked up by then. Did have head torch on for setting off, but you didn't need it on for very long. And then starting to climb up Snowdon, the sun was coming up, the most beautiful sunrise as we got to the top of Snowdon. That was, you know, you just have those moments in a race that you'll just never forget. That was pretty special. I knew I wasn't as mountain fit as I'd like to have been. So I thought, you know what, you're going to take this steady. I knew it was going to be hot, and I raced terribly in the heat, funnily enough, hence why it all went wrong. And I just thought, you know what, today is your day of having a really good day. Don't worry. I was like, do not worry about the race. And like my friends know, I am a bit of a scolded chicken racer. I like to go off. I quite like to set the race pace. That's my kind of racing. I like it. I like being chased rather than chasing. But I was like, this isn't your day for that. Your day is today. Just run steady and it'll be what it'll be. So I went off, super sensible, beautiful run up Snowdon, hiked around with some people. The course was amazing as the sun came up and it was just beautiful. But yeah, then the heat started to come, and I think that is where a lot of people then just really started to struggle.
So yeah, you've summited Snowdon. Whereabouts in the course then did it really start to heat up?
So all was going really well. Just heart rate kept it sort of high zone 2. Yeah, it crept a little on some of the climbs, but nothing that wasn't controllable. Nutrition was going in really well, and you're thinking, this is going brilliantly. I was just having a great day. You know, some races, you're just having a brilliant day. I was loving it. I was like, this is great. Ran with some people, met some people on the course. They were great. And then came into Capel Currig, so that's halfway. Still felt all right then. Went up Molshabod, feeling good. And then it was that descent into that next farm. And as I left that farm, which is just next the foot of Snowdon, I just felt like someone turned the internal furnace up, and I thought, oh, this is not good. This is not good. You know, when you're trying to put nutrition in, you're like, it's not going in. And it'd just been going in like clockwork till then. And then that was it then. That was probably one of the last times I ate for the rest of the race, really.
Could you have crew out with you in the course?
Yeah, you only have 2 points that you can have crew. So you can have crew quite early on, and then, so it's about 25K, then you had a halfway point with a drop bag, and then a 75K support point. My next point was support point, so the climb was up Snowdon and then down to your support point, and I was like, you've just got to get to the support point, but the wheels had come off. Like, by that point, Georgina came past me as we were going up Snowdon, and I was like, oh. You know, and I was like, I know at that point, she just cruised past me, and I was like, you're done. And I was like, we are not feeling good, feel sick. I knew at that point it was going to be a death march. Can you even get to the finish? And as I said before, that Western State ticket was going round and round my head. I was like, you've got to get to this finish. So did the Snowdon climb, got down to my support crew, and I was like, this really isn't good. Managed to get some food in, but that didn't stay in. What was that then? 25K from them. Managed to get up and over the next climb, and then got to the last checkpoint. I spent 2.5 hours in that checkpoint, in the last checkpoint.
Kudos to you though, for just like, right, I've got to stop, I've got to reset.
Just rallying, puke and rally. Love a bit of puke and rally. But yeah, just sat in the corner of the tent, literally shivering and shaking. I couldn't get warm. Oh, it's horrible, that feeling. Honestly, I think on the inside of my eyelids, I have DNF is not an option tattooed. It's in there.
Yeah.
I was like, you cannot quit.
What did you do in the tent in the 2 hours?
The volunteers were amazing, and they brought me like cups of tea. All I could do was sip some tea and eat like this veggie broth, and they just kept being like, "Are you all right?" And I just shake my head, and you just put your hand up. I was like, "Just leave me, I'll be fine." I thought I was there for 40 minutes. I was told I was there for 2.5 hours. I was like, "Oh no!" Anyway, I managed to get these cups of tea in, and I was just absolutely in a mess. Like, this is it. I'm done. Race done. Felt awful, and then I was like, oh, and then that's when I went outside and projectile vomited everywhere. And when you just suddenly feel better after being sick for like a moment, I was like, it's now or never. I went in the tent, picked up my pack, and I was like, I'll see you at the finish, and I just walked out, and that was it. And I was like, and I had nothing to eat, nothing in me. So it was a death march to the finish, but hey, made it to the finish, got my medal, got my Western States ticket. It wasn't pretty, but we got it done.
Lessons learned. What did you learn that you might take in? Because Dragon's Back, I mean, I don't think there's been a year where Dragon's Back hasn't been roasting hot.
Yeah. I genuinely think for a lot of people, heat acclimatization, we went from freezing hot. 2 weeks before, we were in the same hills, nearly hypothermic.
Yeah. Mega.
There was just no acclimatization. Whereas realistically, for dragons, fingers crossed, if it's hot, you'll have been doing some in the mountains. What would I do differently? I say I wouldn't change my nutrition, but in light of recent reports on the nutrition that I use, basically I race on spring, and that is what I've raced in the past. So that will be changing, shall we say?
Is it the awesome sauce? Is that the one that we?
Yeah. So awesome sauce, and along with other stuff, but it definitely was mixed in there. I spent.
To be fair to Spring Energy, I've had lots of athletes use it with really good success.
I have too. But I've had a lot more. So I raced the Thames Path on it solely a couple of years ago. It was brilliant. But you don't question. All I say is I've used it recently and I've always felt like it's needed topping up. Genuinely, I've always added another gel or another chew or another.
Yeah, I've heard that too. A bit of an empty feeling.
In the past, it was a bit religious. If you could just, I don't know if formula's changed or not. I don't know. I just know when I raced that 100 in 2022, I used pure spring and it just went like clockwork. In recent times, I have had to add to it, and you don't know why. You don't question it because you go, Anyway, the label has said. So there'll be a different nutrition strategy for Dragon's Back, sadly, because that was sort of working. But we'll have a look. There's definitely. I'm a big believer of you guys, precision hydration. So their electrolytes will be going in, their chews, etc. So that is definitely. I haven't tried their gels yet because I use spring, but I think there'll be some trial and error on that.
That has definitely served me well. Even on training days, I will decouple the carbohydrates and the electrolytes. But yeah, I trust these brands. If it says it's got a 20,000 litre hydrostatic head, or it's got 30 grams of carb, 25 grams of carb. I've listened to a podcast today, and just the test alone to see if the carbs match what it says on the label. I think it's like $4,000 or something. Maybe that was dollars. We don't do that. We have to trust these people. And the attrition on a 100K with Dragon's Back race, you make a great point. So if you are consistently under fueling over the course of a week, that's going to be spectacular.
100%. That is going to come to bite you in the butt day 2 or 3 if you think you've been taking on all the right fuel. So there's definitely something to be looked at there for sure. But UTS, I genuinely believe maybe there was a little bit of underfueling then, but also the heat. And I can't shy of heat acclimatization and going away or something beforehand and getting used to the heat. I don't know what else I would change. It was, other than that, it was all pretty good. Just some races don't go your way, do they? So
well, April, May is wild. People who did the London Marathon, Manchester Marathon was hot. You've come out of what we've had a pretty stinking, I think it's just been wet, windy and cold all of the year until the races kind of started to kick off. Wild.
Well, there was the Friday, wasn't it? The 100 runners went off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We went and registered at the time they were setting off, and it was melting, and they had 48 hours of that. It was just how Mark Derbyshire did what he did it was phenomenal.
I haven't actually heard anything negative about any of the UTS races compared to last year when there was like a barrage of complaints and stuff. Did the whole UTMB experience deliver? I
have nothing bad to say. Like you said, you've heard negative things, but honestly, from start to finish, I just thought they'd elevated it to a whole nother level. Professional. The volunteers were amazing. I thought it was all signed really well. I actually thought it was a brilliant race. I sing my praises. People might scoff UTMB have taken it, and there's other races UTMB are now taking. I think it's a good thing. I love being part of a big race. It draws the best runners. It's a big race. It's great to feel part of it. Why not have a couple of them in the UK? I think it's brilliant.
Would you do it again?
Yes.
Yes.
I would do it again for sure. Although the 100 miler is very appealing. I know.
That is a beast. So what happens now, Zoe? We've got we're beginning of June now, up till June, July. Let me do my very extensive maths. June, July, basically 3 months, haven't you? 3 months.
Yeah, it's about 12 weeks. 12 weeks till Dragons, and
What are you doing?
Or just focusing on that, if I'm completely honest. I have got an entry in Lakeland 100. It is sat there in the background. I don't quite know yet. It doesn't quite fit in, but it's very tempting to toe that start line because it's an awesome race and I get to smile at Gary and chase Gary up some mountains. We'll see.
I think we'll see you at Coniston, Zoe.
Really, it's all eyes on Dragons. I want to get out on the course as much as I can, get some wrecking done. You know, it's a long way to cover 250 miles. So trying to get out.
Will you keep some speed sessions in your training plan, or
100%?
Yeah,
100%. You know, Dragon's Back is what it is in terms of it's a massive race, but there's some really runnable sections. It's a runnable, you know, I say runnable in a loose term, but there really are. So keeping that speed in is important because fundamentally, if I can keep good speed for let's just say zone 2 heart rate, if you can keep your speed high for zone 2, well, you're just cruising, aren't you? But you're running faster than other people. So that's the aim of the game on those runnable sections, to be able to have a low heart rate but move well.
What's your go-to speed session when you're like, can't bother to think of something, I'm going to do a classic?
My go-to sessions, I love tempo sessions, love tempo running. And then go-to speed would be something like kilometer reps or something like that. It's enough. I feel like you don't absolutely lose a lung, but you're pushing hard enough that at the end of that K, you're counting down the seconds, going, there's 30 seconds to go. You know, that sort of
19?
feeling.
How can it be 19? It was 30 like 3 minutes ago.
Oh, literally, you're just counting them down. But yeah, so quite like K reps.
I like a K rep.
Yeah, I'm not too sure I'm going to phrase this. Apologies if I throw someone under the bus, but yeah, and Zoe, you've both observed lots of races. You took part in many races. Is there anything that you would say that was a common trait that people had that led to a successful outcome? It doesn't have to be podium. You know, it could be a successful race for whoever they are.
I think the racing is similar to training. And my biggest thing is consistency. You know, the consistent runners are the ones that you see do the best for them. I'm not saying, like you said, I'm not saying podium runners, but I'm saying the best for them. It's that consistency in that training and running, I think. And that's just back to almost like specificity of their training, etc. It doesn't really matter on the terrain. It's you get in what you put out.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Wrong way around. You get out what you put in.
I think they both work.
I was like, that doesn't sound right in my head. And I think that's the key bit. That's how I see it. Especially getting to see athletes as well. You can use yourself, but when you work with athletes, you get to see lots of other people and how they train and how they race. And it definitely is consistency to me is the best result you'll get.
What about tips? Tips for people who are thinking of entering the UTS, one of their various races.
UTS is unique. I think people underestimate what the UTS is, especially people think it's UTMB style, and it's not. UTMB is very runnable, not very runnable, but as in it's on big. The alpine tracks are well maintained, they are runnable. UTMB is super technical and hard, and I think people underestimate the UTS. They look at the time gaps you've got from one checkpoint to one checkpoint, and you think, oh well, that's quite doable. It is hard. So I think my advice would be really try and study the course. I know everyone can't get to the course, but look at it. Don't underestimate it. Try and watch some YouTube videos on it and really see what it involves before you decide if it's something you want to take on, because it is really hard.
It's too hard for you, Gary.
Well, you make a great point. You can see, okay, 30 miles, whatever it is. I'll maybe refer to the old county tops. On paper, you think, yeah, that's not so bad. But the reality of the ground you're moving over and the elevation for those miles, yeah, it tells a different tale.
And heat train. Anybody that enters that race, start to give yourself 6 weeks before, do a week of acclimatization in your bath. Turn that up hot, and it's just like Dragon's Back. I think it's just always going to be hot.
It's that start of the year, the heat suddenly comes. It's like with the London Marathon, they've had it. You know, it's that the heat suddenly comes, no one's trained in it, and it hits you like a sack of spuds and just takes people
And if
out.
it does hit you, do a Zoe and just be prepared to sit in a tent with a cup of tea for 2 hours and let yourself reset.
Oh, yeah.
Reset.
Honestly, if people are listening, we've all felt sorry for ourselves. If anyone's out there listening and you had the Western States goal, it's more important really to get to the finish than I suppose the DNF. And if it takes 2.5 hours, 2 hours in the checkpoint, and that gets you the finish, I think it's amazing. Again, I was talking about Dragon's Back race, but this year we had this option of, I think it was an hour grace at the certain checkpoints, and that just transformed, I think, pretty much 99% of people's days. Just to have that little bit of calibration, time out, just catch your thoughts, have a drink, have a kind of pop, a Solero, whatever it is, cup of tea, some veggie soup. Yeah, that literally can be the difference in a DNF and a finish, definitely. I think talking about heat training, I'm sure I saw Precision Fuel and Hydration. It doesn't have to be fancy. I think they had some turbo trainers set up in a hotel room with some jackets on. Just, you don't have to go into a special camp.
No, definitely treadmill, clothes on, sweat it, that's it. But just didn't see it. Well, didn't see it coming. You looked at the forecast and it just looked all right. And then it literally, with a few days to come, it just was like, here's your heat wave. Oh, God.
Yeah. Well, you did awesome, honestly. Super awesome. I'm really excited to see. Fingers crossed you make it to the start line. Lakeland 100, it's always a pleasure to see you. Yeah, I can't wait to see the Dot Dragon's Back race too. What a treat. That's going to be awesome. Should we do the quick five, Eddie?
Do it.
Do it. All right. Ooh. Tea or coffee? Drink any? What do you prefer?
Tea. Gotta be tea.
Is it just a straight, like Yorkshire tea? Lump
Or
sugar,
Yorkshire tea,
milk?
yeah.
Yeah.
We only
Classic.
got into tea in lockdown, though. I didn't drink tea before lockdown. I only discovered it in lockdown. I know.
Wow, that is like really late.
I don't know we'd have had you on the podcast if we'd known that sort of detail had been introduced at the start. What and how did you get into it at lockdown? Can you share that? Is it too dirty a secret?
To keep my head out the fridge, basically. Because I almost spent my days opening the fridge, going, "What can I eat next?" And I thought, "Oh God, I can't just keep eating." And also, you have a lot of time. So what I got into was tea breaks. I like a tea break. If you're having a cup of tea, sit down, don't do a lot, and just enjoy the tea. And then I was like, so tea breaks and cups of tea. That was that was my lockdown discovery.
Too many tea breaks at my house.
I know, yeah, it's wild. I like having a cup of tea and I had a bag of chips at the weekend on a bench just near where I live, and just be present for half an hour. Me and my bag of chips. Me and George, my son, and our bag of chips. It was just like, yeah, he wanted to go for a coffee, so I'm digressing. He wanted to go for a coffee. I'm like, I'm not going to go for coffee unless we can sit down and drink a coffee. I don't want to be rushing around. I just want to be present with my brew. You could be any superhero for a month. Who's it going to be?
Oh, it could be any superhero for a month. I think I'd have to be like super. I'd love to fly. Imagine being able to fly. I'd have to go Superman, I think.
Yeah.
Nice pants. Good
and
clothes.
good pants, good outfit.
Good outfit. Strong.
He does a lot.
Warm.
He does everything.
Strong look,
Superman.
aerodynamic.
Aerodynamic. You look good. You've got the body for it, Zoe. I think it's an overall good choice.
Oh, takeaway night at the Murphy house. What's it going to be? What's on the menu?
Oh, well, my treat post-race, if I've raced, it's always a chippy tea. There's something about a chippy tea after a race. But if it was a normal takeaway, I'd probably lean towards a Chinese, I think.
I know. It's so dirty, though.
No, I know.
Chinese takeaway. You love it at the moment, but the night after.
Yeah.
Burst.
You have to go to bed with 2 pints of electrolyte, literally.
Yeah.
2 pints of electrolyte to bed. Yeah.
But even though you've had like a pound of salt anyway, it's like, wow, even more stuff. Do you pimp up your chippies? Are you like mushy peas, curry sauce, or are you just traditional?
I'm a chip gravy. Don't like mushy peas. Northerner, put gravy on your chips.
This is where we could all fall out, actually. Is Aussie allowed in the furniture?
Oh, we're going to fall out.
Ah, it's all so well.
I know. I was like, I know they're going to ask me, and I'm going to have to tell them that Aussie's not allowed.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be the truth. You can't pretend to be somebody you're not, Zoe. We'd soon call you out.
No, Aussie's not allowed. Basically, he's an Aussie Shepherd. He has long hair. This dog goes on the trails and gets so muddy that I was like, nah, from the off, this is not. I've had a border collie before, so I know. I was like, I can't do it. The mud is just next level. So he has to stay on the floor. But for that, I spend my night sat on the floor. So I've got a lovely sofa. I don't sit on the sofa. I sit on the floor to cuddle my dog.
Oh, but they're so cuddly. He's so hairy too. That would be a lot of hair on the sofa too, wouldn't it?
No, he isn't allowed. And no, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'd get a double. I'd get like a big poof. Can you get like a double person poof so you can both get on it?
Maybe.
I'd do that. Okay, it's Instagram story music, Zoe. You know the drill. Every week we share this podcast over on Instagram, and you get to choose the Instagram story music. What's it going to be?
I was having a little think about this, and I was like, "Oh, what do I want?" And I thought, "Well, I'll go to one of my running playlists because I was like, what's always coming through my ears?"
Yeah.
Says a lot about you, this choice, Zoe. So be careful.
There's always rubbish on that. Maybe some 90s dance or some really bad cheese. But one of the first ones that came up, and then I really liked it, was Reef, Place Your Hands. And I was like, that is a good tune. So let's go with that one.
I saw a funny Instagram post where this person was like, I love that I'm running along listening to like some hardcore disco classics or hardcore house, whereas really I'm just, and that is so alien and opposite to the lifestyle I'm actually listening to. I'm actually living when I'm just going to go home, have a cup of tea with the dog. Oh, Zoe, thank you so much for giving up your time for us today. Let's fingers crossed for the next 12 weeks. Good, solid training. Get in that gym.
Will do, promise.
Get strong. We will follow your dot. And I hope there's somebody else on the media team that's going to shove a camera into your face every... Hello. Go well. And we'll look forward to it. And hopefully maybe hearing all about it when you come back with your dragon.
With my dragon.
Bring your dragon onto the podcast. Gary always does.
It is there. Yeah, hopefully see you for a chippy tea in Coniston come July. That'd be lovely.
Oh yeah, let's see that, and we'll know where you finish, how you've handled the race. But maybe just tag along next to Gary and like eat his snacks and stuff, and just keep going. This is just an easy effort for me, so I'm just going to jog next to you, Gary.
I can do a sensational zone 2, Zoe, in school that for about 50 miles at least. Yeah, that'd be great. Looking forward to it. But take care. Thanks for your time today, Zoe.
Oh, thank you for having me on, guys. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing the mics with us, Zoe. Good luck with Dragon's Back Recce, and super curious to see what you do at Lakeland 100. You're on the start line, but whatever you do, I know it'll be well thought out move, and fingers crossed we'll be tracking that little dot, Dragon's Back 2024.
Thanks to Fenixlight for sponsoring our Strava Club and Tales from the Trails. Don't forget, patrons can enjoy 10% off over at fenixlight.co.uk. First up on Strava Club is Joe Rickberry. Request to follow Joe, so I can't see what you've been up to. But either way, 34 miles for the week and a longest run of 21.7 and total elevation 1,707 feet. Next up is Sarah Giselle's. Sorry, Sarah, if I mispronounced that, but you are a private, so I can't see what you've been up to either. 15.4 miles for the week with a longest run of 6.3 and 1,555 feet of elevation. Hopefully these mileage and all the other deets are correct, because I did it on Sunday night. So yeah, people could have done a late update on Strava. So apologies if I'm robbing you of some miles and elevation. Last up is James Sunley. He's a local lad. Elwick Harriers, just up the road from me. 21 miles for the week, 8.9 miles the longest run, and 886 feet. And it's not all about 15,000 feet, 20,000 feet vert. It's really good to see there's a healthy mix over in our Strava club. But do you remember, Eddie, a few weeks ago, I gave a shout out to a guy called Chris Kelly.
Yes, definitely.
Massive training week, smoking fast London Marathon. I was so impressed by his stats. And I forgot to mention,
he cries as he pushes the trolley around Carrefour too, as well?
I hope he does. Goodness me. And he's a V40. He's definitely V40. So he is not,
So
20
he's old too. He's old too, is what you're saying.
He is an old age pensioner. Yeah, but I did forget to mention it. My bad. Sorry, Chris. He won the Grand Union Canal race, and that is a bucket list race. Yeah, well done, Chris. And I'll briefly see you at the Lakeland 100 this year before you drift off over the horizon. The reason why I know he's a V40, because I checked.
Of course you did. Nowhere is safe.
I was
Everybody
relieved.
turn your profiles to private. Hide your Instagram.
Goodness me, there'd be no chance whatsoever if Chris was a V50. He was going to finish hours and hours and hours ahead of me. But yeah, super impressive. Well done, Chris. Also, past guest Sophie Power only went and got herself a Guinness World Record. Unbelievable achievement. Seeing the updates, yeah, I found it really emotional and so inspiring too. It's really important, you know, there's a lot of reasons why people run, and it does sound a bit cliche sometimes, but just, you never know who's going to be watching you. And there might be just somebody there who's just seen Sophie doing what she's doing and thinking, yeah, I wouldn't mind. Goodness me, don't have to run the length of Ireland. It could inspire me to do something else altogether. But yeah, it just could be that little spark, that little trigger for something amazing. Yeah, for me, that's got to be this week's. Do you want?
Oh, I interrupted your heavy flex. Do you want the deep of the?
Yeah. Wow. Come on then.
84 hours, 6 minutes, 45 seconds. That might not be precise because she didn't stop a watch, maybe. But this is what is loaded up on Training Peaks. 347 miles, Gary.
Oh,
average pace 14-minute, 33-minute mile, 17,500 feet of climbing. A total TSS, if you're a scorer or if you use Training Peaks, of 5,861.
What does that mean?
Well, it's not actually, it would be higher because she turned her heart rate monitor off. But basically 100 TSS is like an hour's tempo run, like a really good hour's solid workout. So she is, I want to send that to Training Peaks and say, is this a heavy flex?
I wonder if I watch taller the next day to go for a run or take a rest day or something. I wonder what it's
You are detraining. I talk about emotion is that they asked me to send her a message for the last 10 hours and I had to sit and compose a voice message to send to her without a lot of pressure. What do you say? That was, I had to sit and then I bodged it up and then I sent the bodge on.
Oh my God.
Oh God, I'm not very good.
Who is this?
Trying to keep the emotion out of something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, heavy flex, good job. And I love seeing somebody doing things, personal endeavor, but also the message that she sends is incredible as well.
And it's total coincidence. Got to give a shout out to our sponsor for Tales from the Trails and Strava Club. Yeah, Fenixlight. We're lighting up the paths for Sophie's world record. Yeah. And kudos to all our Strava Club members. If you would like to be another chance of a random shout out, then yeah, pop over to Strava and join our ever-growing club, Tales from the Trails.
The race day turned out to be a very interesting one. The race was an hour drive away. I said bye to my boyfriend and set off on time, only to hear a strange noise coming from under the car after only a few hundred meters journey. I stopped, looked under the car. Part of the car's exhaust had dropped off onto the road. Oops. Quick call to the boyfriend, I knew what to do. If I managed to pull the part of the exhaust that was still attached to the underside of the car, I could still drive, although it would be a loud one. There I was, lying on the road trying to pull the bloody thing off, but it just wouldn't come off. Then I remembered. The car's boot was filled with gardening stuff. Having swapped a 3-bedroom house and an allotment in Manchester for a box shoe-sized studio flat in London, I was using my car as storage. I grabbed gardener's secateurs, cut and chucked the exhaust into the boot. Should we put a caveat on this that this lady isn't a trained mechanic and perhaps not to do this if your exhaust falls off. After a very loud journey, I arrived at the deserted start line. I was about 20 minutes late and everybody was already gone. Oh my gosh, this is like stuff of nightmares. I managed to find the race director who, as shocked as he was, got me onto the start line ASAP. I knew the very first few kilometers of route, but as soon as I got into the woods, I got lost. These days, I had a basic running watch and was completely relying on route markings, but there was none. I was not only behind all the competitors, but also behind the sweepers who were removing the route markers.
Oh, bless.
Oh my God. Thanks to a call with the race director, the sweepers came back to pick me up. This race director sounds like a ledge. This was the most exhausting race ever. Brackets, as no training took place, but also extremely lonely one due to the fact that when I signed up, I gave an overly optimistic finish time based on my previous road races. I completely underestimated how long a trail race would take me. This resulted in being put in with the elite waves. So at the point of my delayed race start, I was approximately 25 minutes behind the elite runners and 1 hour 25 behind the non-elite runners and 2 hours 25 behind the walkers. I really only started catching up with the majority of the field a few kilometers from the finish line. This experience from 9 years ago not only has not discouraged me from trail running, but has quickly progressed into mountain running. In fact, I'm sending this to you on the way to the Ultra Trail of Snowdonia. I mean, what's not to love? Much love, Dorota Speciala. I've said that wrong. Don't come at me. I'm sorry, but there's still much love for you there. I love it. Cutting off. I also love it when you're in the car and something happens and you remember you have something in the boot, because that's the sort of thing that I would do as well. I'd have some random, I've got a bit of tape for that. I love the determination to get to the race too.
Oh, yes.
Gary would have sacked that off and gone
I'd
to
have been that off.
Thanks again at Fenixlight for sponsoring Tales from the Trails. We love sharing your tales from the trails. Keep them coming. Please email them to hello@tntrails.com. You said a few mean things to me this podcast. We started off with the fact that my appearance was perhaps a little lackluster, and you said, don't worry, nobody looks at you. You've then said I'm old, I'm cranky.
I'd get a visit from HR, wouldn't I, with that comment?
Oh my, let's face it, you wouldn't still have a job if we did have an HR department. Lindy and Tarky, you'd be up against them. You're fired for being nasty to mummy. So let's perk ourselves up a bit. Let's make ourselves.
You want a review?
I want a review, and I want it hard, Gary.
You want a hard review? Great. I'm going to give it to you hard, Eddie. That must be edited out. Can you leave 2 5-star reviews? That is, I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe you could leave a.
I don't know how people. I see people asking you how you leave a review, and you always
I've
go,
got a clue. Well, the binge watching is over, and the joy
somebody does
remains.
watch. You see, somebody does watch my big red face. So. Sorry,
although I do find out I'm missing out on all the prizes. I tend to save them up. Oh.
Don't worry, everybody is. Who knows what happens with this?
The podcast, Eddie. The podcast just does not let up, and it continues to give in spade. The kitchen sink drama of life mixed in with the highs and disastrous laws of running.
He's only talking,
joy.
or she is only talking about me here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to reflect. Have I had any disasters yet?
No, you are smooth sailing. As you said, oh, my Strava bars are all in the same time.
Tales from the Trails never disappoints, and love the obsession with the Strava data, especially as I will never move into the top 500. That really niggles me because I can only see the top 100, and obviously we've got loads more Strava.
Hey, have you not gone on your interface on your computer? Have you tried to do it?
I can only see, unless I'm doing something wrong, I'm certain I can only see the top 100.
Talk to us, listeners. There must be a way, because it would be nice.
Oh, wow. Let us know if we can do it. Keep giving, and we will keep taking. I knew it. I knew you'd laugh.
My smoothies kicked in for sure.
MP Albie review over on Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for that. And yeah, I am super curious. Can you leave 2 5-star reviews? Somebody try
I think you have to have a bit of time. I think you can, and then you have to. I think we've had somebody that says.
In theory, I'm not saying other podcasts do this, but maybe people do that. They leave themselves reviews. Should we leave ourselves some 5-star reviews?
I've tried to leave you a review, but it got taken down.
Get out of town.
Abuse.
Hot stuff.
Why would I put hot stuff in it?
I don't know. Keep
those 5-star reviews rolling in. You guys are much cleverer than us and work out how to do it. So other people can find us, because still every week we get messages from bingers who've only just found the podcast, but then what a joy they've got. Hours and hours of listening. There's a few podcasts. Do you do this, Gary? Like, I love certain podcasts, but sometimes I just need a break from them. I get that. Sometimes you step away, or life's busy and you don't listen to them for a few weeks, and then you can totally like a whole day.
There's a trigger. Yeah, I'll step back if there's something triggers me negatively, and I'll step back.
Yes. If something they say annoys me, I'm very cutthroat, Gary. I take it personally, and I'll go, nope, I won't listen to you again, even though they don't know me, they don't care. It doesn't.
And if there's a disturbance in the force, I will mention Marathon Talk. I love Marathon Talk. And then there was a little bit of a few changes over the years, and the chemistry, for me personally, wasn't
Oh,
quite the
judgy,
same.
judgy.
Well, lots of
Judgy,
people
judgy.
love it. Lots of people loved it. But for me, yeah, it just changed. It was like, so that's why
You know,
we're
it's
never
like
going to change.
when no, but sometimes our chemistry, like if you like, you've offended me this week, there's definitely a slight like there's an off feeling, isn't there? And people
It's
are
very
like, yeah.
tense when the mic's
It's
off.
really tense in the office today. It's a bit like in, you don't watch it, but in Selling Sunset, where they have these massive rows in the office. They like go and punch each other and stuff, Gary.
Oh
and the
my
girls
goodness.
are filthy nasty to each other. And then they're like, so anyway, and then I'm like, do you just move on from that? Like they sit, like they proper like slag each other off. They're really rude. And then they just carry on working. It is a bit like you and me, I guess, as well. But
I'm watching, talking about people slagging each other off. Below Deck Thailand is on our radar. Have you seen that one yet?
Below Deck Thailand. Hold the phone. I don't think I have.
It's going to
Who's on it? Is it? Oh, it's gonna,
There's nobody I recognise.
oh,
from
who's the
previous.
captain?
God, we just watched it last night. I can't remember his name. He's not Captain Sandy, or who's the other dude in the sailing yacht? I'm forgetting everybody's name. I'm terrible.
Oh, the little guy, Phil. No,
little guy.
Peter.
Good job he doesn't listen. Goodness me.
Let's get him on the show.
No, not Graham.
No. What's his name?
I remember Sandy. Greg. Oh, I'm obsessed with G's. Glenn. That's why.
Glenn, it was coming. The old brain. Oh, I don't think we've watched Below Deck Thailand. I thought we'd really had done them all.
Highlighted my day yesterday, as we told me we had another new Below Deck.
Where is it? Is that off Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix.
One last interesting fact, guys. This is just if you're on your long run, you don't want us to go anyway.
This is supposed to be the competition section.
I know. This is good. This is really interesting though. So I had to have my debit card ran out. And so all my standing, direct debits that go out all then failed. So now every few weeks I get it's failed to fail. But it's amazing how many little direct debits, maybe people are more savvy to them than I am, that you're like, oh, that Spotify, Netflix, Swift, it all adds up actually, Gary. So a few of them, I tried to live without Spotify Premium, but I couldn't do it. It was doing a nut in the adverts, and I'd go to play something and it would be like, you don't have the credit for this. So,
it's quite sad though for you, because technically you're only renting the music. So if I can't, we've got an Apple family plan with iTunes. If I stopped paying the books, Apple, it would all.
But it all adds up, doesn't it? But I tell you what, when you
Yeah.
get a new debit card, you can start afresh and you can choose what you do. Get a few threatening emails saying payments haven't gone through. So just ignore those. Don't worry. They won't find you. You live in the Alps and you can start afresh.
Just go and run to the hills. For the month of June, our awesome friends, Protein Rebel, are providing the prizes to celebrate the launch of their new vegan protein powder. We've got 5 tins, that's 20 servings in each tin to give away. 3 tins for a legend Patreon and 2 for everybody else. All you mere mortals out there, all you have to do is be a legend Patreon, and everybody else needs to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we are getting loads of heavy flexes.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, loads of
If
heavy
I
flexes.
had
over
another
YouTube.
child, which I'm not going to, I would call it Heavy Flex.
Heavy flex.
Just, okay, heavy for heavy and then Flex, middle name.
Loads of heavy flexes over on YouTube. And that is all you need to do. Pop over to YouTube, watch episode 74, 73, or 72, I think. And in the comments, just put the words heavy flex. We've had a giggly. What time did we come on this?
Silly. And I'm starving. So that means we've been recording for ages.
All I've eaten today is a Huel shake and some peanuts.
What diet
Sad-
is that?
sad times.
That's like someone who's coming off surgery's diet or something. What
Yeah.
did you think? Oh yeah, I'm going to have a Huel shake, and then
Well, you know, when I talked months and months, maybe a year ago, about buying some Huel,
Yes.
when Andy
Oh
Bowie was
my
on.
God,
Well, I'm
yeah.
still going through that pile of Huel.
I could have told you that. When you said I'm going to substitute those meals, and I went.
I opened the cupboard and it was like 3 bags of it. So I thought, oh God, I've got to use this up.
I've got to confess, I said earlier on, I bought the boulangerie out of sausage rolls, veggie sausage rolls. They've already all gone. moment on the lips, a lifetime on the lips.
It's like the Pringles, isn't it? Once you pop, that's it.
We bought a pot of Pringles. You know, when you do that post school shop with the kids, it's a dangerous game. You have to move fast at speed and do not accept anything into the trolley. But a pot of Pringles did get into the trolley and it came home. And they're expensive here because
big bucks,
they're like imported goods.
Oh, luxury.
So it got home, and then as I was like making tea and unpacking and all sort, carnage. The pot got popped open by somebody, and it went. So which?
I go in the cupboard, so we'll buy things like Pringles or kettle chips for like a party tea, and then maybe a day or two later, I'll go in the cupboard thinking, oh, I'll have a little handful of crisps.
Not a chance. Not a chance. But that's the thing. As soon as you open the big bag of crisps, they're gone. Just don't buy them. And I don't often buy them. Somebody else in this household who I shan't throw under a bus buys stuff like that and then forces me to eat them in a gorgeously crunchy, disgusting mess. Anyway, right. Let's do you first because you're actually training for something important.
I've mentioned it a couple of times, but yeah, we are now in the non-negotiable phase. And yeah, talk is cheap. We'll see. No
sausage rolls for you, Gary. It's all right for me right now. A little tub start, but not for you.
Oh, goodness me, I do love a sausage roll or a veggie sausage roll. I'm trying to, after watching Clarkson's Farm, the pig.
Do you know, my kids sit and watch that and I say, see, so a little bit less burgers, a little bit less sausages. And they're like, nah, it tasted good, Mum. Tasted good. I'm like, yeah.
Well, it got to me until Sunday morning. Then I had a bacon sandwich. But yeah, I'm very mindful to try and reduce red meat, basically. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, non-negotiable phase. And this will show me how much I want a good performance at the Lakeland 100. And roughly speaking, I know we record this on a Tuesday, it goes on a Friday, but for argument's sake, 5 weeks of training and then the taper. I do a lot of things well. I sleep a lot. That's usually spot on. I'm consistent with the gym. Maybe could increase that. Definitely another session. But yeah, pretty good. Apart from food, I think food is my weakness. Fingers crossed, we've got another lakes trip plan. Well, it was going to be a 13 Valleys recce. Got a nice one from Grassmere. It's still going to be a 13 Valleys recce, but I'm thinking of starting at the Blencathra Centre and running to Glenridding. So down the valley where Fawnside Farm Cottage. Yeah. Fawnside Farm Cottages. I should run past there. And there's a Wainwright I've not done. Is it goodness me, hike or something? So I might take a little detour, do the Wainwright I've not done, then get back on the 13 Valleys route. Just a simple out and back because I need to be home to pick my children up. I'm not even too sure what the workout is. Oh, it is. The workout is that one where I said about running hard up a hill, 800 meters, having a little jog around at the top, and then running hard down the hill. It says 3 on the plan, which is roughly speaking, say 4,800 meters. I might do 4. I might take it up to.
Of course.
And I'm looking ahead because we've got 5 weeks before start the taper for Lakeland 100. So hopefully for 2 of those weeks, I'm going to do a night in the lakes, maybe a youth hostel, and then do a double day on the trails. One of them, I think this week on Thursday, I will be just running on my own. And that's partly because, well, it's Thursday, so most people are working. It's hard to get people together. But also, in any of these races that you do, you're going to spend a hell of a lot of time on your own. So a little bit of alone time is always worth doing. Yeah, looking forward to that. Fingers crossed. There's no get out of jail. Something's going on at the weekend that I can jump on the back of, Bob Graham rounds, etc. So if I don't do it, it ain't happening. What about you?
Oh my God. Well, I've sat down after the hardest hill reps I've done in a long time. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to actually. I've also got to do deadlifts and dumbbell jumps later on in the gym. I'm just not sure that my legs are going to take it, but it'll be all right. There's super exciting news. My sports therapist lady, she's been playing golf in Spain for a month. So I saw her the week after Northern Traverse and then she left me. My calf muscles they're like 2, I'd like to say Jack Grealish's. They're so tight, but she's back tomorrow. I'm going. She's so lovely.
Jack
she messages me as soon as she's back. I'm back, Eddie. How long do you need? I need a day. I said, I need a day. So I'm so excited for her to just get pummel me into oblivion. Yeah, I've got a new strength program. I'll whine about that next week, but proper strength. So the last month or so, I've just been like,
same strength coach. New plan.
Yeah, I tried to ditch him, but he wouldn't let me. So same guy, new plan. Back to what I was doing before the Northern proper, what I call my big workout. So I just have to be, like you say, mindful that I've been able to do 2 quite good workouts because the gym hasn't been that hard, and now it's going to get hard again. So might not. I just have to just be careful not to overdo it. And I know I've whined a bit this week about my energy levels are not. They're not good, Gary. I've really tried to like up my food, maybe the sausage rolls.
The Pringles and the sausage rolls, yeah.
Well, less Pringles. To be fair, I didn't get any Pringles. By the time that I went to get the Pringles, the pot had gone. But yeah, I've been really trying to eat some more, go to bed. But it's so hard when you've got older kids they're not going to bed till like 9:30, and you want a precious 20-minute cup of tea with your other half, don't you? Just a moment, just to like sit, and then it's 10, and that's late to me, Gary. So I did get into bed last night. I got into bed, I turned my light off, my Kindle fell on my face. That's always good. At 9:20, and I was like, that was it. But then I had to get up at 5, so it was wasn't. I know. So good gyms, keep on going. There is some sun on the horizon after all the rain, but I tell you what, the trails are trashed. I don't know if anyone saw any of the maxi races over at Annecy. Do you know what? They ended up having to divert a lot of the courses because they have thousands of people running on these trails, and some of them got so muddy they were too dangerous to run on because they're steep and people couldn't get down them. So they were pulling people like out onto the roads, back onto the roads. The mud looked. Yeah, so our trails we need some dry weather now because I love running down fast. But if it's muddy, my butt cheeks are like, no. So hopefully some sunshine. I've got a couple of mates training for TDS. So we're going to do some mega hikes because obviously a lot of that race is hiking. So I'm going to join them on a couple of 2,000 meters.
Nice.
We've got a couple of climbs that are just over 1,000 meters, and you park the car in the middle and you can go up one side, back down for a Coke, back up the other side. Perfect. I love it. So hopefully we can fit that in. I'm just crossing my fingers because every day that passes, do you remember this time last year? The kids break up in France so early, and the older ones at the bigger school, we never know when they're going to finish school, when the teachers go, I think they've learned everything that they can. Do you think we're ready to go down to Nice, hit the beach? And I'm just waiting for the message to come through to go, by the way, next week, Mum.
That is wild. I love it.
Wild, isn't it? We've got no lessons. So hopefully the sun will shine before that happens, and I'm going to get some lovely mountain days as well. So keep it going, keep it ticking along, and just try it a little half an hour. Though every day I wake up and I get my sleep report and it goes, you are ready, Eddie, you are recovered and you are good to perform. And I'm like over my cup of tea going, what's the day?
After the bloody Bob going round, terrible. And immediately that put me in a bit of a funk. But when it spins the other way around, it's like you had 10 hours sleep, 9 hours sleep. It's like, oh, wow.
You are good. You are ready. Today is a good day to perform. And I'm like, who is this person in Garmin Towers telling me that today I'm going to be, are they looking and laughing and going, let's tell her, this wizened old woman, that she's ready to perform. Though to be fair, I go out and I'm like, once I get moving, I nearly always am all right. It's just the thought of it is always worse than the doing.
I would love that. Was it Greg who does Inside the Factory? A visit to Paula, Suntor, Chorus, whoever it is, just the tech, get in the tech lab and see.
I would just like to show them as well, the algorithm. So the Garmin one, it goes, does yours go, your performance is up +7 or +4 or -3?
Or when you actually physically start running.
Yeah, I don't know
Sunta
what that means.
doesn't do that. Maybe it does for Sunta, I don't know.
Well, my Garmin, I did my warm-up this morning and it said +4 on the performance level. Stopped it, started my workout, and about 5 minutes later it said -3 on the performance
Shocking.
level. I was like, you can go one, because I'm absolutely sweating my eyeballs out. Yeah, I'd like to meet the Garmin algorithm guy and take him down.
I turned all that off. That feedback.
Yeah, I need to turn that off. It's the sort of thing that bugs me every day, and I think just like my direct debits, I must turn them off.
That's it. We're done, Eddie. Another week, another episode in the bank. And thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration and Fenixlight for sponsoring this week's show. Use the code T24 for 15% off your first order over at Precision Fuel and Hydration. Thanks to our partners and Patreons too. We say it all the time, and it does feel like sometimes it's just repeating the same old words, but 100% we could not do this without you and your ongoing support.
Be kind to your future self. Breathe and believe. Progress, not perfection. Keep your shield high and don't mind the grind. Saw Jack was on a competitor's podcast this week.
What?
I know.
Our Jack.
He'd gone over to dark side. It didn't look fun. I mean, it didn't look fun. He didn't look like he was having a good time. He looked like he wanted to be back with us. Anyway, hope you all have a great weekend. My name is Eddie Sutton.
And my name is Gary Thwaites.
And that was episode 74 of the Tea and Trails podcast.